Welcome, everyone. Continuing coverage,
Good
Marco.
evening, Zach.
Continuing coverage of the WCOOP.
Yes.
We tonight are very... Yes, it's continuing. We're hand for hand if you're watching right now, Marco. We've been kind of streaming this for a while. The 1K event number 29, the $750,000 guarantee. Blinds, Marco, currently at 9,000, 18,000 with a 2,250 ante, Marco.
2,250.
Yes, that ante is very strange. The 50 chips are still in play. They haven't colored up.
Excellent. And how many are left?
It's looking like there's 10.
Okay.
10 left.
So we're on the eve of the final table.
Yes, we are. We're here a little early. Just like to say before we start, we have our panel already here. Thank you for patiently waiting. But Marco, good article today on the poker, online poker.
Thank you.
Yes, it was very interesting, and Mr. Reed and Mr. Kyle send their regards.
Yeah, I think I'm glad they liked it. I think we got some feedback from them, and they said they're very pleased with our reporting.
Last they said to me via text was they expect you be on The View with them tomorrow.
The View with them?
Yes.
I see.
Yeah.
I didn't think Kyle and Reed would hit the talk show circuit together, and if they did, I was not expecting The View to be their first stop.
You were going to be.
We'll
you were going
to
be on
talk about that.
Hopefully
we'll get a chance to talk about that. Those of you who have been following QuadJacks or who follow us on our Twitter at QuadJacks.com and our Facebook, you will know that we. I think we kind of broke the. I don't think we broke the news that the summary was out there. That there had been a summary of this online poker bill. A brainstorm by Senators John Kyle and Harry Reid. Those of you who follow QuadJacks know that we often talk about the politics of poker and poker legislation. But we did report on what this summary contained and thus what the bill tentatively contains. So I invite you to, I don't have the link handy, but maybe Zach does.
We have it all in a call here, Marco. And it looks like unless a 10 pops or a heart, it's final table. Here we are.
All right, it's final table. So check out that article, and if we get a chance, we'll talk more about it later. But now it's Pokerstars time, and I'd like to some actual online poker. Let's stop talking about the farce of American online poker, and let's real some actual and decent online poker being played everywhere else in the world. Now, are our commentators here with me right now? Ryan.
How's it going, Marco?
Hi, Ryan. Welcome back to QuadJacks TV. It's good to have you once again, Ryan LaPlante.
Thank you very much for having me back on. Really appreciate it. I had a lot of fun doing the 10K high roller commentary, and seems like the viewers enjoyed it as well.
Yes, we all certainly did. It's great to have you back. So it's LaPlante, is it? I like to get a little French with it.
It's LaPlante.
Can I
nice
say LaPlante?
And simple. Yeah, that's exactly.
LaPlante. Got it. Maybe I'll say LaPlante. But welcome back, Ryan at Potential MN. We were railing you a little bit earlier today. I'm going to want to talk. We're talking about the thing, but I want to know also how your day went. And also, I believe making his QuadJacks debut, Madison Bergeron, sir, are you with us?
I am.
Excellent. How should I pronounce your last name?
Bergeron's fine.
Bergeron. Oh, may I call you Madison?
You can.
Welcome, Madison, to QuadJacks. How are you doing?
Good. How are you?
Not bad. I'm, had a long day. Like Zach was saying, worked hard on this story. But I'm ready and prepared to rail some Pokerstars. Before we begin, Madison, could you tell us and our viewers a little bit about yourself and your own poker background and where you are in the world right now?
I'm in Vancouver, in British Columbia. Sort of the modern-day poker hub of the world, I guess.
Yeah. Interim capital.
Yeah. I've been playing MTTs now for about 2 years. Prior to that, I was just pretty much a cash player. I became really good friends with Chris Moorman, and he sort of took me under his wing and basically taught me everything I know.
Mm-hmm.
So
can't go wrong there.
I haven't had a lot of success. No, you can't. I haven't had a lot of success on the live scene yet, really. So still waiting for that big bank. Hopefully sooner rather than later.
Hey, Madison, are you American or Canadian?
I'm Canadian. I was born and raised in Vancouver. So
Got it.
Yeah, I was lucky enough to be here before everyone else came.
How much has it changed since?
Quite a bit in terms of the
Yeah.
live poker scene. It's definitely not changed for the better, that's for sure.
Okay. Well, listen. Thanks so much, guys, for both of you for joining us. Let's have a good time. Anything you need, bring it up. We have our Skype chat here. If you want to say something that you don't want anyone else to hear. And let's get going. So I'm going to let you guys handle most of this, but tell me a little bit, Ryan, maybe we can start with you. Who's in this? Who's at this final table? What kind of tournament is this? Who's played it? And what position are we in right now?
Well, I haven't really been watching the Final 27 so far. So as I'm looking through, looks like the Final 27 had a lot of interesting names, especially the Final 18, like Gambler 444 19th, Flush Entity, Griffin Banger, and 14th, Flash Disaster, another well-known regular, in 15th. Wizzo taking 12th is kind of interesting and surprising to me. He's coming off of a very huge live score for 1.3 million euros, and you'd think that his heater just would not end and that he'd be leading this field. So far at the final table, the main three names that I recognize the most are all sitting right next to each other. You have H. Husal, I have no idea how you're supposed to say that. Ilani213, who is a very, very good regular. Sinsux, who is also very good. Ilani213 and Sinsux, I believe they're both Americans who moved down to Costa Rica.
Mm-hmm.
The other names that I recognize, of course, is the Stars Pro from Mexico, Grips D's Nuts, Stanman 420, and Super Fizzy. So you have at least 6 to 7 very good regulars at this final table. So we should be seeing a lot of very high level of play from these guys.
For all the
definitely
folks
does
at
not
home,
look like it was a.
Hey, Pro, for all the folks at home, Grips D's Nuts chopped the Scoop main event, the 10K.
Oh, I did not know that.
Yeah, it says on like Pocket Fives that he got it for like 980, but they actually chopped, and he got just obviously he got just a little bit more. He got let me see here. He got, I think they had a play for like 40,000 or something like that. He cashed for 798. So he's coming off a huge score online.
There you go.
And another thing of notes, when I looked at his scores, sorry to cut in here, but I think this is very interesting. So he scored, he got first place in Scoop event number 40, right, on a Sunday. He then cashed that same day, so it's not like he just stopped playing after cashing for almost $1 million. He cashed that same day in the bigger 55. He cashed in the Sunday 500, and he final tabled and came 4th in the Sunday second chance. How sick is that?
Sounds like a pretty nice run, type of run that, a lot of poker players' dreams are made of.
Yeah, so I don't think we'll see Grip These Nuts, Mr. Grippo, looking at making any deals anytime soon, that's for sure.
His deal-making
Probably not.
skills are actually some of the most impressive I've ever seen.
Really?
I don't know if I don't know if you guys watched the 10K Scoop final. I don't remember exactly what the chip counts were, but he definitely was the shortest stack of the three, and he somehow negotiated his way to the lion's share.
I think I remember that. I think he was telling them that he's just a better player than all of them, and they should just take this deal.
Yeah, it was something to that extent. And the chip leader wanted some sort of a compromise. He said, "Well, let's just chop it or whatever."
Right.
And Grip was actually saying something like, "No, like I get the lion's share, or let's play."
Yeah.
And the guy, I guess, caved to the pressure. I think he was an amateur player, so he just kind of gave in and said, "Yeah, sure, take it."
That's awesome. Very cool. What do you make of it, Marco? I mean, there's already a lot of action here. A lot of 3 and 4 betting already happening. This is going to be a good final table.
Yeah.
Waiting for some expert advice here, Marco.
Yeah.
Oh, you're still on me. No, I was.
I
No,
like
one
how
thing I was
everybody waited for
thinking
you. That was
about.
sick.
One thing I was thinking about. Did I hear somebody describe Grips or Grip as the
One of the
as
best.
the team pro? Because it looks like
No.
he isn't the team.
No, Andrew Gulian, or however you pronounce his name, is Team Pro from
Sure.
Mexico, right below him.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You're on it, Marco.
That's it. That's all the expert advice I have.
You're doing the editing as we do the live coverage here. No, I think that these guys have got a great. I think it's going to be a lot of fun, Marco. These guys seem like they know what the hell they're talking about a lot better than you and I. So let's get into
I don't know about that.
No, trust me. Trust me, you do.
Really?
And here we go. Grippo, nice easy 3-bet. I think we're going to see a lot of this, guys.
Yes, definitely. There should be a lot of 3-bet, 4-betting, and 5-betting, and possibly even some 6-betting at this final table. Wouldn't surprise me at all. I mean, all these guys are capable of being very active, and a lot of them will be fearless for, well, Grip D's now coming up of $1 million score himself. You won't see any of these guys playing the ICM or anything like that. I'm sure they're all playing for the win, or at least most of them are.
And we've only really got 2 short stacks, 9th and 8th, and then 7th place Standman. They all have a ton of chips, so this is pretty deep stacked as well.
Yeah, I mean, with the top 7 players having 50 big blinds or so, we're definitely going to see a lot of action. I think it's going to be a long one. I don't think anyone's going to get 2 out of line. I could be wrong. These guys have definitely proven me wrong before, but yeah, it looks like the top 7 all have about 45 bigs plus. Of course, with Line I having like over 100. So yeah, I think we're in for a long one here.
A long one? How long?
I'm really bad at this kind of stuff. I definitely wouldn't even ponder a guess.
I would say likely around 4 hours. I mean, that's about 12 levels, and I mean, right now, with how deep they all are, I mean, like, average stack right now is, 60 big blinds, maybe even 65 bigs. So it's going to take a while for this final table to play through.
All right, pardon me, gentlemen. I'm merely composing a tweet right here. It's difficult for me to provide expert, poker advice and tweet at the same time. So, but I invite you both to comment on anything you see fit to comment on.
Okay. Then I guess we'll start discussing action and our thoughts and stuff on it. And if you have any questions or anything, just feel free to quip in, and
I'll interrupt very, very vulgarly.
Good.
Clear my throat loudly and stuff,
Well, as you guys have seen already, we've already seen at least 1 4-bet, I believe. Possibly 2. Yep. 3-bet and a defend by Ilani. That's probably going to be happening a lot. A lot of these guys are probably going to be raising, we should be seeing a lot of really high steal percentages here, and a lot of people either defending somewhat often from the blinds or 3-betting a lot from it, which is, we're going to see a lot of your 3-bet, 4-bet, and 5-bet wars occurring. And occasionally what a lot of regs like to do is 3-bet light or 4-bet light versus EP and MP raisers. So I think it should definitely be really interesting.
Yeah, and a lot of these guys have a ton of history with each other, like Potential said. I mean, Gripty's Nuts, Standman, Simsucks, Linei, and H. Usale. They're all really well-known regs. So they've got a lot of history together. They're definitely not going to go easy on each other.
Standman's raising from late position. Pretty standard open with a very, very wide range. Eleni looks like he might want to have some fun with him. In my opinion, in a spot like Eleni's button 3-betting, I generally think it can be fine to 3-bet light there a lot, depending on who the opener is. But I think versus regulars, depending on whether you have proper 5-bet shove stacks, 4-bet shove stacks, and so on and so forth. I mean, a lot of regs these days are very capable of just 4-bet ripping it in your face, shoving all in very light. So if, say, especially with these opening sizes, you'll see the 2 big blind open and then the 3-bet to somewhere anywhere between 4 to 5 bigs. a 25 to 30 big blind stack is perfect to just shove it in someone's face with, any kind of bare ace or like suited king or suited connectors. So you generally won't really see people 3-betting buttons like when they're that kind of effective. But as you're getting into 40 and 50 big blinds deep, people like to do it light, especially because if they think someone's going to 4-bet them light, they can just 5-bet it. Which is, we might see a lot of battling in those kinds of situations due to how deep they are.
Yeah, and Stanman specifically is more than capable of that. I saw a hand, I tuned in with about 15 people left, I think, and someone had opened the cutoff. And Stanman had, I think, roughly 35 big blinds. Both the big blinds on the cutoff had about 28 big blinds, and he just shoved. So he just 3-bet shoved 28 big blinds, which is certainly, above average in terms of how many big blinds he would shove as a 3-bet. So if he's willing to shove 28 big blinds in a 3-bet,
and we have our first 5-bet of the table.
Oh, there it is.
Late position to a 3-bet. The good cold 4 from Lilla, who happens to be a Swede, and H.L. Sewell putting it in his face for the good old 5-bets. I mean, it's very possible that every single one of those was light. It's hard to say, it's too early in to really say whether or not someone's going to be, whether it was all for value or not. Obviously, Lilla being light there, not calling it off, is pretty standard, especially at this kind of final table.
Yeah, if I recall correctly, I believe Lilla London is a fairly high-stakes cash player. I'm not 100% certain on that, but the name definitely rings a bell. And I don't recall seeing it in tournaments too often.
I have no idea. I don't.
Of course, being from Sweden, we can always expect 3-bets to be a little lighter than average.
And the good old cold 4-bet as well.
I've got a question for you guys. I'm sorry if you answered this already. I didn't hear you do so. Has either of you guys played this tournament?
I played it myself. I busted about 30 to 40 minutes left in day 1 on a flip for like top 3 stack, top 4 stack, something like that. So still have a little bit of a painful memory, but I was very happy to cash it.
Mads?
I did not play this tournament. I didn't play any poker at all yesterday. I've had a bit of a flu. I don't know if you can hear it in my throat or what I'm used to sounding like, but I've taken the last 3 days off. I've been really under the weather, so I haven't played a hand.
Just try not to get us sick, Madison.
Yeah.
Okay, so an all-in from Angel Guillen. Guillen? Is that how you pronounce it?
Guillen is probably correct.
I believe it's Guillen, yeah.
Guillen, okay. Got it.
I believe it's on gel as well, maybe. I don't believe it's pronounced Angel. I've heard the name pronounced before. I can't remember if it was Angel or Angel. Something to that extent. He's actually Lynn Gilmartin's boyfriend. Lynn Gilmartin, the popper, the Poker News hostess there.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
I saw her this summer a lot at the Rio in the company of a man who had a Pokerstars patch. I couldn't identify him. So
that was most likely him. Either that.
Well, he's already running well in life, isn't he? Now, I've got another question for you guys. Can you tell me a bit about just this tournament in general? It's a 1K, limit hold'em. What kind of player pool do you think that's going to attract? We had about 1,500 entrants. What did we see from the rest of the field?
Well, this tournament is generally the Super Tuesday. This is the WCOOP version of it. The Super Tuesday itself has a pretty good structure, but it's it's no 2-day event, and it generally gets around 400 runners with a 250K guarantee. It's a difficult tournament, and it's something that I've just recently started adding into my arsenal of games that I've been playing online. And this 1K, with how large it is, it has a pretty soft field in comparison. I mean, it's still going to be, say, a lot harder than your average Sunday Major. It's probably even going to be comparable to, say, the Sunday 500 or even harder than that. Even though it has a fairly large field, all the regs come out for WCOOP, and anyone who is capable of putting up the 1K is definitely going to be doing so. A lot of backers allow their horses to shot take. I know my backer specifically is pretty much allowing anyone who is a mid-stakes higher reg to play, the 1Ks and stuff, especially, 240K up top. It's definitely worth taking a shot in. With how deep the structure is, too, as long as you're a fairly competent deep stack player, you can have a pretty big edge on a lot of the people. But as you see, if you look at this final 27, the early to mid stages ends up being like fairly difficult, but this late game is pretty much always going to be really, really difficult. The final 27, there's like at least 13 or 14 very good regulars. So it's not a field that you can, very happily wade through, get to the final table, and just push everyone around.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would agree with that. A lot of people kind of look at these inflated 1K or Super Tuesdays, if you will, and think, well, it's basically the Super Tuesday with 1,000 fish, which isn't really the case at all. A lot of these guys have relocated specifically for WCOOP. A lot of them, I know Gripty's Nuts personally. He lives in Chicago, but he travels abroad for WCOOP. I think the same thing with Stan Man, and of course a handful of guys throughout the field. So a lot of these guys aren't playing the 1K or the Super Tuesday rather on a regular basis. So while it is softer, a lot of there are a couple additional amateurs in the field. It's not, you can't really treat it like there's 1,000 extra amateurs in the field, because a big chunk of those people are people who have relocated specifically for this series.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. Also, the difference in structures, like the Super Tuesday, while it has a pretty difficult final 27, it's not like quite that bad, just because, faster structure, faster play, more luck involved. A lot of fish end up making it to the end, and it'll be difficult, but it's not going to be like this kind of field. I think with the added structure, you're going to see the cream rise to the top a lot more often.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Awesome. Here we go. We're in a hand. We have Lila, who shoves the river. 400,000 and about a 600,000 pot.
Did not quite see the action on this.
Lila just kept betting into Alini, who called.
I assume it was a 3-bet pre-flop, and a very great call by Illini.
Oh wow! So who was it that left? Lila.
Lila London ended up. Yep, it was a 3-bet pre-flop. Illini defended with King 10 suited, which at this kind of situation in final table, very, very standard. And then once Illini flops top pair, he just doesn't give it up. And I think with the cold 4-bet from Lila earlier, it's pretty likely that he'd shown very aggressive tendencies in the past. And I still think that the river calls isn't going to be an easy one, but versus that kind of player, it should be one that you should make fairly often once you get to that point. And it also helps a lot that Illini ended up turning the flush draw as well.
I think there was a bit of dynamic between these two as well. I don't know if I caught it. I think 2 of the pots they've already played together were either 3-bet and 4-bet, or 4-bet and 5-bet with each other. So there's definitely, they've already started building a bit of an early dynamic.
So we're now down to 8 players. Chip leader is who was it? Is it Cuckoo Chanel?
No, it's
Illini.
Yeah.
Illini? Is that how we're saying it?
I believe it's pronounced Linei. I'm not for sure. I've never really spoken to him personally, but I've heard to him referred to, at the World Series and stuff as Linei. I'm not sure if that's just a combination of trying to pronounce his name and seeing his avatar being a lion, but I think it's Linei.
I'd always thought.
What?
I'd always thought that it was Illini for like the fighting Illini or whatever it is, the college sports team. Isn't that what it is? Something like that?
I couldn't tell you. I'm just going by word of mouth.
I just think the name Illini is cute.
I was going to say, Marco, if it has to do with college sports, you're the man to ask.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Illini. I like Illini. It sounds like a pastry. Okay.
Let's go to the bakery.
213. No,
Sure,
no.
let's
Let's
stick with that.
Okay, 2-1-3. How about the lion? Okay,
I like the
we've been
lion.
having some fun with avatars. The lion. All
And we
right.
can call the guy the
Either
boot.
way,
The boot. The shoe. Dear
That's
God.
a boot.
The
That's a
boot,
lot.
the lion.
Pronouncing that name.
The is that a famous rapper?
Yeah, it looks
Curious
like,
George.
looks
I have
like
no idea.
looks like Method Man. I like the
Method
guy
Man,
that's got
okay.
the guy's got the police picture as well. Sim sucks. It's like the lineup. He's the lineup.
He's the mug. He's the
Yeah,
mugshot.
the mugshot,
No,
yeah.
my favorite is obviously is Moment at this table.
No, but he is hosting the final table as
Oh,
a member
got
of
it.
Team's Pokerstar Online.
Obviously, my favorite avatar is Super Fizzy. That's the natural American spirit cigarette brand, which is the brand I used to smoke
Yeah,
when
no
I
shit.
was smoking. So, yeah. If I were playing online poker, I'd probably have an avatar like that. But yeah, this is so now we're down to these 8 men. There could be women among these, but I don't think.
As far as I know, there isn't. I know Illini, Steve is definitely a guy I played with when I was live grinding in Wisconsin for a few months. I ended up playing versus him a few times, and he is just as intimidating live as he is online.
Okay.
I've also
Just as intimidating live, like is he
Intimidating. Intimidating.
Is he a thug?
He just has a good table presence, and you don't like. You know when you play hands with them that you don't really want to screw with them. You know, it's not necessarily to the degree of, say, an Ivy or someone like that, but he definitely knows how to put on a good poker face and how to at least appear to be fairly intimidating. Not necessarily to a thug, but
Got some
just
action
a
here.
very, very strong personality.
The boot.
Looks like it went raised 3-bet.
Yep.
Cold
Cold
4-bet
from
from,
the boot.
All right.
and he's already 5-bet once at this final table. And I would likely say that this is going to be for value just because he's already been so active. I mean, with the way the game flow's going, chances are he doesn't want to appear to be getting, like, you know, too crazy and too aggressive. You don't want to, like, overdo it and have people start playing back at you too much, unless he's on that level and doesn't really care. Would you agree with that, Madison?
Yeah, I would agree to some extent. It's I think it's a fairly decent spot to 4-bet, just because it does look like you wouldn't be doing it light too often, especially after being involved in a few pots prior to this one, and also the stacks just make it as such that, you know, CSIM sucks is kind of in a situation where he can't really peel. It just makes the stacks post flop too shallow, so he's basically forced to play for stacks and either 5-bet jam or fold.
You don't think it'd be possible for SimSucks to 5-bet fold there? I mean, with the sizings, the boot had made it. You know, he could easily make it, say, 2-9-9-9-9-9 and then fold to a shove.
Yeah,
especially if he thought that H, the boot, wasn't really willing to 6-bet bluff there.
Yeah, no, I would certainly agree with that. But it's 5-betting light isn't something that happens too often. It's pretty high risk play. We're risking a third of our chips here, so I mean it's certainly possible. I agree, but he's kind of in a decent situation in terms of chips. It's pretty tough for him to get involved in a lot of pots, being that there's 2 short stacks
Looks
and
like
one of
we
them
have an all and end call. And Super Fizzy got the double up. Sorry to intrude.
No, that's fine. As I was saying, Super Fizzy and Angel Guyan are both fairly short. One of them had 10 big blinds, I guess, prior to this double up. And Angel has about 16. So for CSIM to get involved in a massive, massive pot at this point is kind of bad in terms of ICM. So he has to have a really, really good read that H. Usale is going to be light fairly often.
Definitely makes a lot of sense, and I agree with that.
Who are the short stacks here? Guillen and Fizzy?
It was Fizzy. Fizzy just got a double, so he's kind of back in somewhat of a comfort zone. He does have 25 big blinds, so he's pretty limited into how creative he can get. I certainly wouldn't be peeling a lot pre-flop with that stack. But he does have time to kind of chill out and wait for a hand. He's definitely not forced to be shoving in position or anything like that.
Like, what are the options, Madison, of someone like Guillen here? What does his stack allow him? How far does his stack allow him to get away?
Not a lot. I mean, he's definitely beyond the point where he could ever peel pre-flop. But he's basically in shove or fold mode. A lot of people do raise fold off 15 big blinds or less. I do it pretty rarely, but I mean, I certainly think it's okay to do it sometimes. But he's just going to get shoved on so often that I think he's just going to be folding until he can find a hand. But again, he's not shoving as narrow of a range as he would off 10 big blinds because he can, of course, afford to wait for a few more orbits.
I think raise folding with... Wait for this hand to play through. I think raise folding with around like 15, even if, like you can raise fold with as little as like 10, 11 big blinds, depending on who you are doing it first. And it's nice when you have anywhere between 15 and 20 big blinds to have a raise fold range. It's not something that you necessarily need to do very often, maybe say once every couple of orbits. But once you start having any kind of raise fold range, people are going to be pretty likely to 3-bet shove on you light, and you can raise call off with the mid to top part of your range, open shove the mid of your range. There are a lot of hands with around 15 big blinds where open shoving it is just like game theory. It's always going to be plus EV, which is why people tend to lean towards it because they know it's a good play. But once you get a lot of comfort with that 15 to 20 big blind range.
Really interesting hand there.
Yeah, that was a very interesting spot.
Super Fizzy didn't even think for more than a second. It looks like he just 4-bet shoved.
He's getting back up there. Without question. At the expense of whom? The boot?
At the expense of the boot, yeah.
I see.
But yeah, I sort of agree with what Ryan said there for the most part. It's important to note that I wouldn't make a habit of raise folding off this stack. You're lighting chips on fire if you get caught doing it too many times. I mean, it does cost you a minimum of 2 big blinds to
Yes, definitely.
So if you're raise folding off 14 big blinds and you have to do it 3 times in a row, well, all of a sudden you have 8 big blinds and now you can't do it anymore, and now you really need to find a hand. So, I do it on occasion. In spots where I think it'll get through, and when in spots where I think I'll look fairly strong. I wouldn't make a habit of it. I mean, if Angel Guillen starts doing it, 3 or 4 times here, people are just going to start shoving on him so wide.
Yeah, definitely. If you start doing it to too high of a degree, people start really abusing it. Which is why in this kind of table, you don't necessarily want to really be doing that. But I think once you do get to the point that you understand how people are going to be viewing your aggressiveness pre-flop with raises and stuff, that it can definitely be a lot better than just open shoving. Someone had asked, Bluff D's Nuts had asked, what kind of hand should Illini or however Lion, I guess, 2 and 3 be calling down with on the big blind from a 15 big blind shove from NGL? Well, that would be, let's see here. So Angel would be shoving under the gun +1 at an 8-handed table, so 6 people left behind him. If he's shoving properly, Angel should only be shoving around 10% of hands, which isn't a very wide range. from the looks of it, though, Angel has probably been shoving a bit too wide, which is pretty common for high-stakes regs who are not turbo regulars. They tend to undervalue the anywhere from 7 to 15 big blind stacks and tend to make shoves that are a little bit too high variance and not varying enough plus CEV. So because of that, I would say that Angel is shoving a bit too wide, and thus Ilani can call him a bit wider. You also have to add in the fact that Ilani has a very big stack right now, and losing a flip to Angel wouldn't affect his edge to any degree. So all Ilani needs to do is factor in the kind of range that Angel is shoving with, and then figure out perfectly what it would be plus chip EV to make a call. Doesn't really have any ICM factors or anything like that. So if he knows the kind of range Angel is shoving with, it'd be pretty easy for him to have a certain calling range. Since I'm assuming that Angel is shoving a little bit too wide, so maybe say he's shoving 14 to 15% of hands, I'd probably be calling with like 7s plus, ace-10 suited plus, ace-jack off, king-jack suited, king-queen off, and yeah, about that. Maybe a tiny bit wider, but probably not at this big of a final table.
Yeah, I agree with that for the most part. I think Angel is well, he has shoved a few times in the last few hands here. Historically, when I have played with him, he's definitely been on the tighter side. So if I was in line shoes, I'd probably call with a similar range, maybe a bit more narrow. Maybe 8s plus, ace-10 suited plus, ace-jack off, something along those lines, king-queen suited.
Well, it's good to know that kind of history. I'm sure Il and I would know that as well, and thus be calling similar to around there. The kind of factors that make into those kinds of situations, like a lot of it, as a caller, a lot of it comes down to how deep you are. The deeper you are, the more properly chip equity you can call, and the less you have to worry about ICM. If, say, Il and I had like 600,000 there, I would probably only be calling like something like 10s plus or 9s plus, ace-jack suited, ace-queen off plus. So it definitely tightens down the range a lot.
Yeah, I would certainly agree with that. At the same time, a lot of mistakes that I find people do make, and not Lion Eye because he's quite a good seasoned player, but a lot of mistakes people do make is they make much looser calls when they get big stacks. And you can do it to some degree, but certainly not, you don't want to widen your calling range too much. Realize that you do have an opportunity to bust Angel, but you don't necessarily need those chips to continue to apply pressure on these finals. So doubling him up is basically a much bigger con than winning his chips as a pro.
That's a very good point to make.
All right, so we are on break.
Break time, Marco.
And while we're on break,
yeah,
I'd like to say a couple of things.
Yeah, I was just going to say, let's let our hosts take a break so you guys don't have to worry about talking right now, and Marco will do a 3-minute monologue.
I don't have a 3-minute monologue prepared.
Okay, we'll do 6.
But first, I'd like to say that I absolutely hate misclicking on things. Which is... Oh, here we go. We just got a tweet by Lynn Gilmartin, who says, at QuadJacks.com, just to ease any difficulty. At... let me get this very, very wrong. At Angel Gillen 25 is pronounced Angel Guillen. Smiley face, enjoying the show, guys. Oh, how about that? She's listening to the program, Miss Gilmartin. It's very nice to hear that you're tuned in, and we're very happy that you're enjoying the program.
And thank you for telling us how to pronounce the name.
Yes, absolutely. So keep that in mind, guys. In fact, can you repeat after me?
And how they're on break, Marco. This is a union break.
It doesn't. Ryan, please.
No, they're on break.
Here we go.
See,
Angel
they're not even here.
I'm still here.
Damn it! You were supposed to just be
I'm
quiet.
listening, Marco.
Yeah, this is actually most of the interactions between me and Zach is spent undermining one another.
Angel.
Anyway, we'll do that. Angel. Yes, we'll do that drill later. But I wanted to take a moment. What is going on? I thought we weren't doing this.
Go
now
ahead.
I wanted to say something. This is something I like to remind people of during the break. If you're listening to this, and that includes you, Miss Gilmartin, feel free to pop into our chat. If you look underneath the screen, you will find a chat box. You can sign in via Twitter or Facebook. Most of you guys are on those things nowadays, and if it's, I was thinking, if it's tough for you guys to follow along, to watch and to interact with chat, don't forget that if you look at the bottom of the chat box, there should be a pop-out icon. So maybe you can put the two side by side so you can watch and chat. And that's kind of all that I wanted to say, other than thank you.
How about follow these guys on Twitter? Yeah.
Yes, thank you to our commentators. You are listening to QuadJacks TV's ongoing coverage of the WCOOP.
Continuing coverage.
Pokerstars, the World Championship Online Poker. Our commentators tonight are our returning champion, Ryan LaPlante. His Twitter handle is @PotentialMN, which happens to be his PokerStars screen name. He's noted and accomplished grinder, currently residing and grinding in Mexico, I believe. I just put his Twitter handle right there in chat, @PotentialMN. And he's joined tonight by Madison, did you say Bergeron? Bergeron?
Yeah,
Madison right. Bergeron, making his QuadJacks TV debut. Sir, how are you liking it so far?
It's good. It's taken some getting used to, but I've been a fan of the show for a while.
Taking some getting used to. You have? That's so nice.
I wouldn't say an avid listener, but definitely a regular listener.
I wouldn't call myself an avid listener either. By the way, here's another tweet by Angel Guillen @LynGilMartin @QuadJacks.com. LOL. We are being lolled at by Angel Guillen Pereda, I believe it is. Well, good evening to you as well, Senor Pereda, if you're listening as well. We'd like to say, how do you do, and good luck. Even though we don't take sides here on QuadJacks TV, unless Chu is on, and he has a variety of boys he's partial to. Anyway, you can follow Madison on Twitter as well. It's @Madsberg, isn't it, Madison?
It is. I'm not the most avid Twitter user either. I kind of log in every now and then. I use it a lot during the World Series to update my chip counts and whatnot. But for the most part, I'm much more of a Facebook guy.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, maybe I should just link them to your Facebook. Add Madison. Now then. Let's. Have we resumed? Yes, we have. Okay. So.
Yep.
Thanks so much, guys. Ryan and Madison.
Thank you very much.
What's happening? Right-handed. Who do we have left? And who do you have your eyes on at this moment?
The big 4-bet by the boot.
It's interesting to know this is the third or fourth time he's done it now.
Yeah, this is at least the fourth time he's done it. And then not only did he 3-bet it, but he also 4-bet into Lilo's face. Lilo London being our 9th place finisher for $15,000. And the person who finishes in 8th will be getting $27,000. So not small jumps at all, especially considering the jump from 10th to 9th was still only $3,000.
And just to correct you here, Marco, this is actually a 3-bet.
Correct me, I didn't say anything.
Didn't you say 4-bet?
No, that was Zach's error.
Totally me. I apologize.
Thank you.
Yes, it was. It's actually a somewhat small 3-bet, but pretty standard considering he has position. This is a great spot to 3-bet light or for value, depending on the kind of history you have. And I would say Stanman's call is a little bit interesting. He can have a lot of pocket pairs, suited connectors, or he can even have the top of his range himself, hands like ace queen, ace king, ace jack, big pocket pairs as well.
I'm always kind of amused when you have these very very American screen names, typically coupled with very American avatars in a country like Costa Rica. You can just tell.
Yeah, I really
you
like
can get a very good read.
I don't know if you remember this, Marco, but last scoop I think it was quite funny when it was Sean Deeb of Mexico was winning everything.
Sean Deeb of Mexico.
Yeah, I
How
think
are you
we're
liking
at
it
the
down
state
there?
where we can pretty much assume that anyone from Costa Rica is a professional poker player.
Yeah, the country of Costa Rica just experiences this enormous rise in online poker success.
Well, yeah,
the
all you have
last
to
few
do,
months,
all you have to do, guys, is just look at Pocket Five's country rankings, and now Costa Rica's like up in the top 3, and I don't even think they were on the map before Black Friday. It's quite funny.
Wow.
Yeah,
Yeah,
a lot of really big name players had moved to Costa Rica. I know a lot of them. There are a couple different towns that are really popular down there. I'm blanking as to what the names are, but I know in one of the towns that a bunch of grinders, some really big names, are sharing houses. And when they were hit by earthquake recently, they ended up all losing internet and stuff. But apparently, everyone ended up coming out fine and being all right. And as you can see, it looks like 4 of them from Costa Rica at this final table. And someone had said earlier that they were wondering if people were in the same house at this final table. And it wouldn't necessarily surprise me if there were a couple people from the same house at this final table. Although being the type of players that they are, I wouldn't expect any of them to collude or self-play or anything like that.
Yeah, I mean, these guys all have a bit too much pride to do anything like that. All these guys are real seasoned veterans, and they wouldn't, I don't think, at least, ever put their accounts at risk. I would imagine that Stars does review any play that occurs under the same IP address when people get matched at the same table. So
Shove here,
I think
guys. What do you think?
Yeah, this is
Not only a shove, but a big tank.
he's been in the
very
tank, so he's certainly thinking about it legitimately here.
I think he might have a hand like King Jack, King Queen, which is definitely in his raise call range pre-flop. And the Boo H. Ausel, or however you pronounce his name.
Yeah, we're just gonna go.
Really good. Yeah, the Boo. We'll just stick with the Boo. Much easier. His range here, I would say, if I'm Sandman, yeah, Sandman's call there really doesn't surprise me at all. And the Boot's hand there really doesn't surprise me either. I mean, it's a very difficult spot to be put into, and it's hard to say whether or not the Boot is bluffing there or going for value. And as we can see, going for value, and Sandman is our 8th place finisher for $27,000.
Yeah, and that's a call that's going to be induced a lot more, specifically by the Boot's history. As we said, he's probably been the most active player at this table. He's 3-bet a few times, he's 4-bet a few times. And, it's definitely going to encourage Sandman to call a bit lighter than he normally would against an unknown.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. And, it kind of looks like, Sandman might have been, spewing off a bit, but especially with the board texture having 2 hearts and stuff, it's hard really to put the Boot on a hand that is going for value there. There are just so few hands in his range that really both 3-bets pre-flop and is going for value for the full distance, especially with how aggressive that action played out.
Very interesting stuff. Pro, just let's drop and just come right back in the call. We're just having a little bit of feedback.
Okay, 1 second.
He sounds a little flatulent.
I thought it was me, because I know I was having some problems with that the other day. So we'll see if that is fixed.
I've had some connection issues all week, actually.
Up in Vancouver.
And thought it was me for a while. Yeah. I've for whatever reason my Wi-Fi has been really spotty. I've kind of put in a hard line and it's solved most of the problems, but it's still a bit scary right now.
Yeah, that's always scary when you're playing online poker and you don't know if your connection's going to be working. So.
Yeah, I've invested in a pretty pricey data plan, just so I can jump on my phone and finish off final tables if it does ever cut out. But that's obviously not the most reliable thing either.
Yeah, no shit.
Grinding 12 tables on an iPad isn't ideal.
Yeah, no doubt. Are you back, Ryan?
Yes, I am back,
Sound
and
perfect.
I definitely agree that having backup internet is key. Even if it's something that's used purely in emergencies.
I mean, if you just think of how much it costs you on a monthly basis, we're talking about something like $50 or $60 a month that could ultimately save you thousands and thousands of dollars in equity down the road. I mean, disconnecting at a table like this would literally, you'd be lighting $1,000.
And we have another all-in and a call.
Yeah, Grip's not scared to get it in with these short stacks, is he?
No, it doesn't seem that way. I think that's a pretty standard call, though.
Yeah, that was a very standard by both of them. I mean,
yeah, especially with the frequency he's been shoving. I mean, you have an ace in the big blind against someone who's shoving. I think he had 11 big blinds to start the hand. So
thereabouts, yeah.
I would certainly never ever consider folding an ace there.
Yeah, me either. That's pretty much a snap call. I'd only consider folding an ace there if we had, say, under 500,000 in chips ourselves, but still, like, say, more than 350,000. Like that, between like 300 and like 600,000, where we have a stack that we can build and work with easily. But if we call and lose, it's going to be majorly crippling to us. An ace-5 off is definitely near the bottom of our calling range, even though it is a snap call in that specific situation.
Yeah, and Angel, of course, is shoving extremely wide there. I would say he's probably shoving somewhere around the top 80% of hands. I don't know him too well. People's shoving ranges do change. Depends who you talk to. But with 11 big blinds, he's definitely looking to just pick up those blinds and hoping for a fold.
Yeah. And then when he's called, I mean, most of the time when he's called, like, he's going to be, as we saw right there, he was about 43-44% versus ace-5 off, if not even a little higher. And, 2 live cards, it's more than a prayer in that situation. You got a lot of equity, and it definitely worked out for him.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't even be considering folding 5-6 suited. In Danielle's spot. So, I mean, Grip just has so much equity against Danielle's range.
Yep. It's a very good and very fast call. We discussed earlier a little bit about having, a backup internet, which is, very, very important if you're a grinder at all. But also one of the other things that is very, very important is having an RSA token. They're cheap and easy to get through the, Pokerstars VIP store, and, someone like Daniel Negreanu, like, he had his account, like, hacked and joyrided, like, it was something like 6 months to a year ago, but he was taken for like $50,000 to $100,000, and Stars didn't return that money at all. And if they won't return it for Stars Pro, chances are they aren't going to return it for you. So if you're an online player and it's available, either in the US or here at Stars, it's definitely something all grinders should have.
Yeah, I actually I worked for a poker site for a while in the security department, and we dealt with hacked accounts a lot. And our general policy was, if we couldn't recover the money, there's unfortunately nothing we can do. It's kind of your responsibility to keep your account secure. And of course, if you do start returning money from hacked accounts, then you kind of set yourself up to be defrauded. Of course, Ryan and I could just stage a hacked account to, get a free $100,000 from Stars and dump the chips to our friend or whatever. So, in Stars' best interest, they just can't, refund money in those cases unless it's recoverable.
Interesting stuff. Yeah, I mean, if Daniel Negreanu does not get his money back from Pokerstars, I don't think anyone would. Fold it around a Grip.
There really haven't been any interesting hands lately, mostly just raise and folds. And here we actually have some action.
C-Bet takes it down.
I know we said earlier that there's no girls on this final table, but with a name like Coco Chanel, we might have one there.
That would, I definitely wouldn't mind, an even money bet at that. It's definitely a coin flip, I would say. It's hard to say these days, though. I think one thing that's really important to notice at this kind of final table versus any of, say, the $200 final tables, or even, say, one of the bigger $700 final tables, is pre-flop raise sizings, pre-flop 3-bet sizings, and then post-flop bet sizings as well. What you'll end up seeing a lot of is at a final table that's mostly regular, or you're just any regular in general playing, is you'll see the raise sizings and the post-flop betting sizings being very, very small. They do this to keep effective stacks, so play a lot deeper. So with, say, 30 big blinds deep, if you're 3x raising it pre-flop and someone wants to 3-bet you, they tend to make it bigger as well. So instead of being able to, say, 4-bet fold, you're now essentially being forced to 4-bet shove all in instead of having a little bit extra play. Also, when it comes down to post-flop play as well, 20 big blinds on the button, a raise with the small c-bet, you'll see a lot of these guys c-betting between 30 and 40%. You'll rarely see them go above 50%, even in 3-bet pots.
Yeah, and we also have to open fairly small just to balance our range. If we're going to be stealing a lot of pots, we want to get at least 1-to-1 on our money. That way our opens only have to get through about half the time. So if you could see, before a pot's opened, there's 59,000 chips in the pot. So if we were to open to 59,000, our open would only have to get through 50% of the time to be break even. So if we can open to 50,000 chips, then our open only has to get through something like 40% of the time to even be break even. So we can steal a lot of pots a lot more easily that way. Whereas if we're 3xing, to 75,000 chips, then our opens, have to get through more often, about 60% of the time, for us to make money.
Yep. And you'll see that a lot of regs start doing the min-raise open or the just over min-raise open, either post-ante, or there are even a lot of regs I've seen that'll do it pre-ante when they're over 50 big blinds deep. That's something that I dislike, but once you're under 30 big blinds effective or post-ante, I think the very small raise opening is optimal.
It seems like everybody these days is min betting.
Yeah, I would agree with Ryan with that completely. There's just, pre-antes, there's just not a lot of incentive to steal pots. So when you are opening, you're primarily doing it for value.
Okay.
And that's not to say that you should be folding hands like 7-8 suited. I still open a lot of hands that have post-flop playability. But pre-antes, I certainly don't get out of line as much, just because there's not as much in the pot to steal. I mean, if you imagine right now, if this tournament was pre-antes, we would be opening pots there would be 37,500 in the pot. And the minimum you could open to is 50,000. So we would have to get our opens through 65% of the time to even be profitable. But whereas the antes now, we add a good 22,000 to this pot. So it's the antes specifically in the WCOOP events are pretty big as well.
Mm-hmm. I've noticed that as well. And we just saw a somewhat interesting hand with Simsucks opening cutoff. What are we calling Illinois?
The Lion.
The Lion. Okay, with the Lion defending button. And I don't think he's going to be defending the button very wide there, just because of Ungeal's stack behind. He's got a great squeeze stack. And then the post-flop action. I will notice that Simsucks actually made it c-bet around half the size of the pot. And I think in general that he made it a little bit larger than normal due to being out of position and what the board is. That's what a lot of you'll end up seeing, how regs size their bets will be based off of, are we in position, are we out of position, is it a wet board or is it a dry board? If it's a very dry board, you have no reason to make it any bigger, because if you're going for value or if you're bluffing, Illinois University, right, which is, so it's the Fighting Illini, thus it's Illini, yeah?
Yep.
Okay. So you'll see that Simsucks made it fairly a little bit larger on the flop, and Illini ended up 3-betting the flop. It's a little bit, wet of a board. He's repping flush draws and stuff, but I really think that he has a lot of kings in his range, and that he's trying to induce Simsucks to spew off to him.
At this time, I would like to ask Miss Gilmartin to turn off the program as we introduce Dean Bogan. Welcome, Dean. Welcome back to QuadJacks TV.
How are we going today, gentlemen?
Not bad, not bad. And yourself. Bogan, you know our panel. Potential and Madsberg.
I know a little bit about potential, I guess.
Wait a minute. Angel
we gotta
is all in,
yeah.
and there's a call.
All in and a call.
Ace King versus Ace Jack.
And the 10.
Oh, brutal. The brutal
And the
10 ball.
And the 10 ball sends Angel.
You told
to the
her. You
rail.
told.
Very
You
unfortunate.
told her to turn off the stream, Marco. Good timing on that.
Yes, and who would have thought I actually inadvertently spared her the whore. Anyway, congratulations, well done to Mr. Guillen. We'll see you again next time, sir.
I guess 41K will have to ease his misery, but I know in his shoes I definitely would be nothing but annoyed and frustrated to a very high degree.
Yeah, it's pretty sick.
Yeah, when you see the king in the window, you really think that there's not a lot that could go the other guy's way. But unfortunately, that's not always how it works.
All right,
Mr.
so
Bogan. I think we lost Mr. Bogan. I was just wondering if he had any horses in this event.
Yep, I'm still here.
Do you have any horses?
No,
I'm still here.
yeah, I'm still here. I'm just letting the poker people talk. You know, when the serious stuff comes up, gotta let the poker people speak their stuff.
Well, actually,
I
I'm
don't have
curious. Oh, go ahead,
Yep.
go ahead, Bogan. I can never get a read on when you're about to talk or staying on track. So we'll have to wrestle for a
Hey,
little
go
bit.
ahead, Marco.
Well, I just wanted to know if I wanted to know how it happened. Was it Sim Sucks who busted Angel?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a very.
How did it happen?
It was a very, very standard hand. Simsucks ended up raising in mid position with Ace Jack offsuit from, I guess, what people like to call the low jack these days. And Angio Guyen ended up 3-bet shoving from the button, which was also very standard. He can also 3-bet and try to induce a shove, but in that kind of situation kind of looks a bit overly nutted. So he opted to the shove all in, and Simsucks tanked for a while and made the eventual call with Ace Jack offsuit.
Did you call in that spot?
Yes, especially with Simsucks stack. I mean, if he ends up, say, being incorrect in that spot, which he was, it's not going to hurt you. Like, yeah, it'll hurt when you lose, but I think for the most part that Angel is going to be shoving hands like Ace-8 suited, Ace-9 suited, Ace-10 offsuit, probably all pocket pairs, some suited connectors. I would say Ace Jack off should be 50 to 55% versus that range, and which makes it a crying call, but definitely a call.
Nice.
Yeah, it's a call he certainly wasn't too happy about. I mean, just based on the amount of time he tanked, he obviously thought that Angel was shoving, a fairly tighter range than most people, and he didn't seem too happy about getting it in there, and rightfully so.
And we have another very big pot brewing here, but ended up being a little bit less interesting.
Now, if I'm not mistaken, Potential, wasn't this the tournament that you were updating with about 400 people to go with how well your stack was going? Where did you finish in this tournament?
Yeah, I mentioned that earlier. I built up a very massive stack in it. Yesterday I was chip leading at one point, and ended up having a very low stack in the money as well, but got into a pretty standard flip where I cold 4-bet shoved Queen Jack offsuit and was called by Ace King and could not get there in a it was 80 to 85 big blind pot, so it would have been like for like top 5 to 10 stack in play.
We're going all in, just so we know,
Sure do
super
have an
fuzzy,
all-in.
as 4-bet shoved.
Yeah,
Yep.
this one's likely getting called here. I can't imagine Grippo folding.
Yeah,
Also,
there's
he's not folding.
nothing that Grippo should be folding.
Nothing.
Nothing. Like, even if he somehow managed to have 8-4 suited or 8-3 offsuit, I mean, he's going to be getting, 570 in there, so he's going to be getting 3-1. And if you put in that range versus, like, the tightest range we could possibly give Super Fizzy, so top 7% of hands, we still pretty much have enough equity to make that call. And I highly doubt Grip These Nuts is going to be 3-betting any of the bottom 15% of hands. So he's always snap calling here, and we have a cooler.
It looks like SimSucks folded a legitimate hand as well. It looked like he actually was opening with something there, because he looked like he did have a bit of a decision.
Yeah, chances are whatever he opened, he did not want to have to risk getting... that he probably thought that he beat Super Fizzy's range, so he didn't expect him to have jacks. I don't think anyone really expects him to have jacks or anything like that often there. But he was uncertain about Grip These Nuts 3-betting range there, and whether or not he was always going to have value or going to have top of his range, anything like that.
So it looks like everything... go ahead, Bogan.
Oh, no, I was just going to say that back to potential story. I just wanted to make sure that he was aware that you get more for coming first than you do for busting in the money. I'm just not sure he's aware of that, but if you win a tournament...
Yeah, actually, surprisingly...
Just making sure you're aware.
Surprisingly, I am. I did win a tournament early today for $5,000 and had a pretty solid day. So, I know what winning a tournament is like. Feels good.
Sorry,
man. Feels
Ryan.
Good.
Sorry, Ryan. I guess I should have asked you for your permission before we brought on Dean Bogan, who actually has got good reviews. I was looking up. We've been getting some tweets. Dean, they say that they enjoyed hearing you the other nights.
Well, that's good. At least somebody enjoys hearing my voice.
Yeah.
Mean someone who isn't yourself.
What do we got here? We got SimSucks. Who is it's Adam Geyer, isn't it?
Yeah, Adam Geyer.
Geyer, got it.
Grip These Nuts is Nick Grippo. Illini is Steve. I don't know his last name.
Burshak?
Yeah,
Burshak.
And we have a pretty big pot brewing, blind versus blind. I'm pretty sure it's a raise pre-flop, a call, a c-bet, a call, a double barrel, and a call. And I would say it's very likely that Illini has a bluff catcher here and will likely not be folding. Although the queen can definitely be a scary card, and he did end up folding.
Yeah, people have a tendency... Sorry, go on.
Yeah, that's fine.
I was just going to say people have a tendency to get way more out of line in blind wars, so that's certainly an influence into Illini's calling range there. It's definitely a different situation than if he were to open under the gun and Illini was defending in the big. A lot of people have a tendency, for whatever reason, to go absolutely nuts in blind wars, and a lot of people have trouble folding. So.
And it looks like that was incorrect. The flop went check, turn went bet call, and then river went bet fold. And I would expect Illini to bet all flush draws on the flop, all straight draws. Probably would raise a lot of them on the turn at the very least. So it's very likely that he got to the river with a bluff catcher, and then for whatever reason deciding that SimSucks would generally have value on the river, maybe based off of his bet speed or his bet sizing or the fact that the flop went check.
All right, well, we have a tweet from, well, let's see how this turns out. What would you do here, Mads?
Is that the end of the question, or?
All right, apparently a question to which Madison does not give much weight. Well, I know what SimSucks does. He bets 132,000.
On this specific situation.
You'd think with these stack sizes that you're going to see a lot of aggression from SimSucks, Illini, and H.
We've been calling him the boot because of his avatar.
We've given up on the pronunciation. So
yeah, the three, as we've seen throughout this entire final table, the three of them have been by far the most aggressive. With the boot having the most 3 bets, the most 4 bets, and seems to be the only 5-bet of the table so far as well.
And let's not forget about Leela London, though. Didn't exactly to be too aggressive, but certainly was involved in a lot of the first 5 hands or whatever there were.
And which is why we saw them go out the door.
I'm pretty sure from what I know of the boot, he normally likes to be a bit aggressive against me. I'm pretty sure he's called me an absolute donk more than a couple of times on the tables. I've put him and Illinois to get in a fair few wars. Have there been many wars so far? Has it just been...
We've seen it.
Sorry, go on.
I expect a fair bit of dick waving between these two, to be honest.
Yeah, there's been a lot of ego battling at this final table. That's how we saw Stanman finish in 8th, is he tried to make a very huge bluff catch on the river with a decent second pair, and ended up being incorrect for the boots river shove. With how aggressive he's been, it seemed to be a pretty standard spot.
The Joe hand?
Yeah, the King Jack hand.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's established that dynamic, though. He's definitely earned that call. He hasn't folded a lot of hands thus far in the entire final table, so it's inevitable that people are just going to call lighter against him.
Mm-hmm. And he's been playing very...
Ryan, what are your views on... Sorry?
Go ahead.
Why does it seem like every time Dean opens his mouth, there's a dispute over who should be speaking?
No, because the thing is, everyone at home wants to listen to me because, you know, I'm the only one that has any entertainment value at all. The others just make them go to sleep. I was just going to ask you, what do you think about people that, you know, do too much dick waving in online poker? People that with their ego getting in the way of their game. Do you think it's, you know, something you'd ever do, or, you know, do you feel it gets in the way too much? Or what are your views on the issue?
This is definitely a needle aimed at me, I feel. As there are some lulls going on in our group Skype chat. But yeah, I definitely think that a lot of regulars, as they move up through the ranks, they let their ego get involved into the poker game. Things like constantly 3-bet, 4-bet, and 5-bet warring people. Doing things like 6-bet folding a third of your stack live. Not that I've ever done that before. And making, you know, hero calls, just not wanting to give up pots. And it's very, very, very common thing you see people do as they move up through the ranks. And while it's something I've definitely done myself, I think once you are able to get to the point where you're able to realize the difference between ego warring with someone and building dynamic, that's when you can definitely take a lot of variance out of your game and start to have much more consistent results.
Yeah, I would say it's definitely been my biggest league as well. I definitely get involved in a lot of the metagame. I like to have fun with a lot of people, but a lot of the times you just, you know, it's not exactly the right spot to get involved, especially on tables when there's bad players. It's not always ideal to just go absolutely ballistic against a really good player based solely on ego. But it does get the best of us, admittedly.
I've seen, especially my horses, I've got a horse, Agro Santos, who was huge on his ego. So we're going all in here. And a fold, 3-bet fold. Yeah, so like horses, Agro Santos was a prime example. He had a huge ego. And we just keep battering against people. And then the moment you stop doing that, you start winning more, because the people who are winning the most in the game are the ones who can leave, you know, their ego at the door and just do what they got to do. I expect on this final table, especially Illinois, he's someone who I've never seen really get into an ego war. I think that's what is one of the big differences between being a good player and a great player is. So it'll be interesting to see how much dick waving we do get at this table, especially with 3-4 handed if there's no deal made.
We're seeing a lot of action at this final table, as was predicted earlier. This is what
excuse me, Ryan?
A lot of action. Like, this is like the 5th, 4th 4-bet we've seen, or 6th. kind of lost
Yeah.
count. It's been happening so often.
Specifically
And could
from
you
him.
remind us why this was foreseeable? Oh wow, all in.
Wow.
And
The boot.
another 5-bet by the boot.
He's really kicking it in here, isn't he?
Listen, the boot is from Germany, right? It is Husale person is from Germany, so see
Yeah.
where I'm going with
Boot.
this? Das
The
Boot.
boot.
Das Boot. Come on, like the
Das
boat
Boot.
and the movie. Here we go. All right, guys, listen very quickly. We got a tweet from Angel. He says, "Thanks, guys. Great show." I'm writing him a tweet of condolences, and I'd like to include all your names in it. Is everyone okay with that?
Yeah,
I'm okay with
definitely.
Say, Sick River, sir. Condolences
No.
from your friend here at Potential. Bogan, you want to withdraw your signature?
I would like to as well.
I didn't include you, Zach.
Yeah, I don't believe without any condolences at all.
All right, I'm going to remove Bogan here. Madison and Ryan, you guys are okay?
Yeah, of course. He played very well. Seems to be a very good guy. I think I played with him in the series too. Seems to be very nice and a great player.
All right.
And very unlucky, River.
Madison, all good?
I'm a big fan of his.
I don't want to do anything on anyone's behalf without consent.
I'm a big fan of his girlfriend as well. So
All right, let's just agree that Bogan is very aloof.
We should have him on the stream, Marco.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Little post
I'll
interview.
send him a DM. I'll send him a DM and see if he's interested in coming.
Action again here, guys. The boot is just.
Yep.
He loves this.
The boot is on fire.
Yeah, he's crushing this table. It's hard to say if, like, earlier we had seen that he'd just done his 5-bet bluff, his 5-bet shove, and he'd done that once before as well. And it's hard to really say if he's going to be doing that for value or as a bluff. I mean, the way the sizings had went in that hand, I mean, it's very possible that if he was leaning towards a bluff, that he might, or for value, that he could even make it, say, 600,000 or 550,000, and then call off a shove or fold to a shove. His large sizing, it could be going either way and be based entirely off of history.
Yeah.
And we'd said earlier that we were expecting this amount of history and action specifically because of how good these players are and how willing they are to play for the win and play for the gold.
yeah, and his
So
image
now-
was. Sorry, go on.
I was gonna say, now that we got two players down to 20 big blind stacks, do you expect to see the action to tighten up just a little bit now that they've got a reshove range, or do you think people are just still going to be going at them non-stop?
It
I think
depends on
people like SimSucks will start to tighten up, just because he's in a bit of a sticky ICM situation. You know, there's two 20 big blind stacks, a little less than 20 big blind stacks on the table still. So SimSucks and Cuckoo Chanel here don't want to get too out of line, just because, you know, they can safely fold and kind of ladder their way up, so to speak. That's not to say they're going to pass in a lot of spots, but I wouldn't imagine them going absolutely ballistic here with those two 17-ish big blind stacks.
And Ryan's favourite player just goes in, gripping the nuts, and the boot folds.
Dean brought
Yeah, I
to you
think
by
you'll
shitty internet from Australia.
I think we'll definitely see our three most active players shut down a bit more because of Super Fizzy and Nick Rippo, Grip These Nuts, will end up being forced to shove a lot on them. And then once we see either one of them double through the other and bust, then we'll see the action start to pick up again. And Cuckoo and SimSucks are both in really, really bad spots due to not only being out of position to the two of them, but their stack sizes as well.
Yeah, and the boots put people in a situation where they really can't do stuff too light, because he's proven to be pretty fearless here. So if they're going to get out of line against him, they better have it, because he doesn't look like he's folding too much.
He's just going to kick him back in play, basically.
Nice
As
one.
shown again, he doesn't like to fold.
See, Marco, I've got so many jokes here with one of the guys who's still on the table with potential, but you've cut out my entire joke range. Like,
I cut out your
Wow.
joke range.
yeah,
What?
I've got so many jokes I could do about one particular player at this table and line, and you just won't let me use them. I'm very disappointed.
Just a shout out to everybody that a couple people are asking, is this live? Yes, this is live. Thank you for tuning in. Join the chat, Marco. You always like to plug that.
Yeah, join the chat, and Bogan, whatever restrictions I may have placed on your comedy, they remain in place.
They don't outweigh the
I'm
restrictions.
not gonna let you guilt me. I'm very liberal on free expression, but yes, we had some understandings right before you came on, okay? And you said, all right, we're not gonna have this debate on air.
I'll tell you what, we don't have to. We don't
They
have to
sound,
worry.
sound like very good rules.
Yeah, we have to have some rules
if
with
you want
Dean.
to appeal my decision.
The only rules that we didn't
What's
talk
that?
about was good data plans. My goodness.
I wish we'd taken that up a little more.
So here we go. We hit a river here. This probably hit a lot of hands.
Yeah, this definitely hit a lot of hands. Any ace-x of diamonds, the king-jack.
Yeah.
It's hard to say if he's bluffing there or going for value. I'd have to go back over.
Should be interesting to see what happens here on Grip's big blind.
That previous hand was very weirdly played by Das Boot with his 3-bet bluff pre-flop and then no continuation bet on the queen 10-10. I mean, yeah, that board is very likely to hit Illinois' range, but I mean, it's also very likely to hit Das Boot's, his 3-betting value range as well, and a lot of his 3-betting bluff range. Hands like 10-9 offsuit, 10-9 suited, 10-8 suited, those kinds of hands. And while, yeah, he's been playing a lot of hands and everything, and he's probably going to be viewed as having a very wide range and very wide image, that's still a pretty good and safe board to continuation bet on.
Interesting. And these two guys again.
So what sort of
flop.
range do you put the boot on right now? What sort of hands did you call to just flat this flop with, Ryan?
I didn't see the action pre-flop. How did it go?
Now you confuse me. I think was there a 3-bet? There's a 3-bet pre-flop, I believe, and just played by Sim Suck.
Sim flatted, and then it went check Sim
flat.
bet.
Yeah.
Okay. And then check flat. I would generally say that he has a king here. Maybe some pocket pairs, maybe some weak aces, or yeah, that would generally be most of his range. I mean, I would think that a lot of the stronger value range would end up either check raising flop or check raising turn to look very full of it. And Sensucks here could very easily have an ace, very easily have bluffs, very easily have kings, very easily have better than aces. It's hard to really say. But I would think that H's range is pretty face up here, and he generally has bluff catchers. Yeah. I would say H had the boot had king jack, king queen, king 10.
You could have also had something like queens.
Yeah.
It just definitely looked like a hand that he was trying to show down.
Yeah. It was a call pre-flop, flat flop, flat turn. Yeah, he definitely had a king there.
Madison,
Yes, Marco.
a tweet for you, or a tweet for us about you,
Oh dear.
over at QuadJacks.com. A fellow by the name of Dustin asks, "Who's Madison? Is he that extremely good-looking blonde prodigy from BC?"
Yeah, I think that's a friend of mine. Hi, Dustin.
Hi, Dustin. All right.
But the answer to the
Dustin.
question,
Oh my
the answer to the question
God.
is yes, of course.
What's that,
The answer to
Madison?
the question is of course yes.
All right. I was curious actually. Who would you say, who's being kind of reserved? I was looking at Super Fizzy. Is it just me, or are we not seeing him?
Chanel.
Cuckoo Chanel's
Yes.
definitely been the tightest player here. I
Yeah.
don't think he's moved a chip since we started watching. He's
They've
just kind of working up the ladders.
they've played one or two hands only. Super Fizz has played maybe 3, and they were just shoves and all-in situations. But Super Fizzy has really been locked with what he can do based off of his stack size the entire way. And Cuckoo is kind
now
of...
he's back to 10 bigs.
Yeah.
That was a really weirdly played hand.
Yeah, and that hand, too, is very weirdly played as well.
So what's your views on Chanel, Ryan?
Huh? On Chanel? What's your view? You
prefer Chanel or Prada?
I'm not a clothes person myself, to be honest. That's more my boyfriend's range.
Maybe we should get him on to commentate.
Yeah, if you guys want fashion advice, I can have him hop on quick.
If you've seen photos of me, I definitely need fashion advice.
I think you need.
I mean, I've seen a few.
I was going to agree with you, Ryan.
Marco.
I was going to say he probably needs a little bit more than just fashion advice, but sticking with poker, Mr. Dean.
I have no idea what is poker. I have no idea. I just
if anyone could see your Skype avatar, they would probably understand what we're talking about.
Yes, it is. It is a very bogan.
Yes, very bogan. He was on a show once here on QuadJacks on Convict Corner, hosted by a bunch of Australians, and he sends us a picture of him chugging a glass of beer. That was what we used for his picture. So we've got a bet here on the flop.
And as you can see, it's a very small sizing. It's around 40%, which seems to be the standard these days for most regulars. I know on my stars I have the flop bet button to be like 39, 38% or whatever.
Yeah, mine's at 41.
41 on your so you just hit the button?
Pretty much, yeah. I mean, I like to obviously
like
adjust to an extent, but yeah, I have them. I think I have them pretty set in stone. I think I've got a 41%, a 52%, and a 79% or something like that.
Yeah, that's pretty much how I have mine set up: 38, 56, and like 84.
Yeah,
and we'll see. Yeah, it went raise pre-flop with Illini defending his big blind, and then a check call on the flop. And Das Boot is tanking for a while here. Mostly because he's probably thinking about Illini's check calling range. I mean, Illini's check calling range here can definitely be jack laden, sevens laden, some smaller pocket pairs, even like say something like 8s, 9s, or 10s even, as he doesn't want to be out of position in a very large pot versus Das Boot.
Yeah, I was just going to say good read there, because they've kept the pot very small, and now we're looking at like a 50
and. Yeah, wow. That was an awesome thin value bet by Illini.
Definitely.
And an instant call by the boot.
And a snap call by the boot, which I really, really, really dislike that call. I would say that if he thinks he's going to be fairly light there, that he should just be raising that river, even though like he's not really repping very much. He can definitely have a lot of kings in his range. Or even thinly played jacks. I would say that Illini's range there is pretty face up, and if he can't beat weak 7, he should be folding there.
Well, what's the boot's opening range there when he's opening into a guy with 18 bigs and 9 bigs? So you'd have to think he'd be, well, not tight, but tighter. So what do you have him? He's called down with there, ace 10.
Oh yeah, I would say
6-7 suited.
Yeah, he could easily have like 6-7 and 7-8, and hands like ace 10 and ace queen, and even I had like 6s or 5s, and I would think that with this call that he's more likely to have a hand like 6-7 or 7-8, just because he should be aware of Illini's river betting range and what he check calls with. I mean, I've played with him a decent amount myself, and I think that he is a pretty good post-flop player, so it kind of surprises me that he calls that river and did not at least have a 7.
Good analysis.
I mean, are we thinking that he opens 6-7, those sort of hands with such a short stack behind?
Just because of how tight Super Fizzy and Grip These Nuts have been playing. He's not committed. Yep, he's not committed into calling their shoves as well. Like before, it was Super Fizzy would be shoving around 8 to 9 bigs, which is a little bit close, but you're definitely allowed to.
I mean, he was down to what 9 bigs, so it'd be a pretty close.
Yeah, it'd be very close.
Yeah, but it's really only one player you have to get through. I mean, Gripty's Nuts does still have 20 big blinds, so we can easily raise fold into him.
That's also a case where also, it looks strong, all that sort of.
Yeah, it also looks really strong, undergun, yeah.
Wow.
I mean, nothing he does
Thanks,
at
Mark.
this point.
I'm
Really
learning something about poker. This is me getting a free coaching session. I might actually play post-flop for the first time ever.
Well, look, I mean, I keep saying that watching QuadJacks TV's WCOOP coverage like this with the pro commentary is very useful, very educational.
Here we go, guys.
You'd be
King
giving
9
up
versus
equity
Queen
not
Jack.
to listen to it.
And the Queen hits.
And
GG Fizzy.
that's a good game.
He's probably gonna
And
go out
Super
first.
Fizzy takes 6th place for $56,000.
Bogan, I wish you'd recommend the QuadJacks TV WCOOP coverage to your horses or former horses.
Well, I mean, I would. It's just not that good.
What's that?
I would recommend it, but then I have to stand by my word. And to be fair, your coverage just isn't that good.
Bogan.
Hey, so now that
Bogan.
Yeah, it's fuck you, Bogan. Now that that's happened, this should really open up Grippo's play now, right? Because he probably was waiting for that ICM.
Yeah, definitely. And a lot of people, I'm sure a lot of people in chat were wondering why Eleni made his somewhat loose, isolation call, or I guess, call with the Queen Jack. And he's probably expecting Super Fizzy to have a lot of worse hands in his range, a lot of flips, and probably doesn't really expect Das Boot to get out of line there just because busting a player and moving up a spot.
Sure.
So it seemed to be a pretty standard call to me.
And yeah, and Das Boot has, recently lost a little bit of his wiggle room, if you will, and so yeah, good read on that. And here we've got a bet by Cuckoo. And a call.
I'm kind of surprised that Illinois flat, just because with how tight Cuckoo has been.
Sure.
Yeah, they might be willing to get a little bit out of line and stuff here, but it just seems like Illinois' range here might be a lot of mid-pocket pairs, even a hand specifically like 8-9 suited, 9-10 suited, or even ace-queen or ace-king. I don't think he's going to be defending very wide here. His continuation, his bet more states that he probably has ace-queen, 9-10 suited, hands like that. I would expect that if he has a jack or better, that he would generally check behind on the flop just because of the amount of equity he has versus Cuckoo.
And now Cuckoo just checking down looks like an ace-king hand, you think?
Yeah, I would say that Cuckoo probably has ace-king here, and Illini is probably going to realize that as well and might go for the bluff or go for a thin value bet with a hand like 9-10 that got there.
Got it.
Or even hand like 7s.
He's betting what, around 50% of the pot here, exactly, ish?
A little under, looks like 47%, and I would say for the most part he's going to have, it actually could be a lot of bluffs, just because a lot of his value hands he would bet the turn with them as well, and that bluff doesn't need to work very often, and it's obvious that Cuckoo had a bare ace, and that they aren't going to be likely to hero it.
Cuckoo's range is just so capped when he takes that line post flop.
Yeah, when
he
he
can just
checks,
absolutely never have the nuts.
Are you saying like when he checks like that, he's pretty much giving up?
Not necessarily giving up, but he definitely has a hand that he's either giving up with or trying to show down for as cheap as possible.
For as cheap as possible. And to a player like Illinois, it's a very, very obvious ploy.
Yeah, and it's a pretty bad move because I don't think Illinois is the type of guy who's going to give you a lot of free streets.
Sure.
It's not a type of hand you're ever going to show down for free or for cheap.
And now also for the ICM, sorry to cut in, but now for the ICM, it's like Grip and Cuckoo now are pretty much the same stack. So.
Yeah. And I would expect Cuckoo to keep playing very tight, and Grip these nuts to probably play fairly tight overall as well for a while.
Okay.
Oh, excuse me. I would still expect him to grip these nuts to 3-bet bluff a lot yet, or at least squeeze a decent percent. I still think that he's going to want to try to keep chipping up, and not going to want to try to fold down and play for 4. Well,
Right.
Cuckoo Chanel would probably be very, very happy playing for 4.
For sure.
Yeah, I would say ICM doesn't affect Grip These Nuts at all at this point. He's a really savvy player, and he knows he's in last place. The pressure's not really on him at this point. I'd say it's definitely more on the boot. I'd definitely expect the boot to tighten up here a little bit. He's still capable of 3-bet folding pretty comfortably and whatnot, but it's just he can't really get a line as much as he could when he had a bigger stack.
Yeah, I was just gonna
with
say-
these two
Yeah, I was going to say
700k
since
stacks
that
behind him.
exactly since that big hand that he had with the lion there, he's definitely slowed his game down a little bit.
Yeah, and once we see Grip bust, I think he'd become a lot more active. And this Cuckoo Chanel we know is just never going to be active, so I don't think he's going to wait for that to happen at any point. But when he knows that, sorry, go on.
I was gonna say, how much is your own image coming to play at these sort of spots? So, like, obviously they're all aware that the players are going to be taking real good notice of what they're doing at the moment. Do you think with how the boots sort of lost, that million back in chips, do you think he's aware of his image and sort of just going to take that step back for a bit and try and, really assess the situation, or do you just think he just keeps putting the foot down here?
No, I think he's really self-aware of his image. He seems to be a guy who just thrives off dynamic. Like you saw with the earlier hands, he likes to build a dynamic where he looks like he's light 100% of the time, so he can get it in pretty profitably by getting people like Stent and to hero call. So he seems really, really, really self-aware of his image, and he seems to use that to his advantage. Definitely more so than your average player.
So for those of us who aren't absolute sickos like you two guys, what would he think his own image is at the moment? Like, if he had to sit there and, just for those guys who are in the chat, listening to us now, what would they be sitting back thinking, okay, well, what is the boot thinking about himself? Like, is he thinking that he's going to be called down light? Is he worried about 4 bets, 5 bets? Like, what's he looking out for here?
Yeah, he's definitely worried about both of those things. I mean, we've seen him 3-bet the most, 4-bet the most, and 5-bet the most. So it's pretty unlikely that he thinks that he's going to get a lot of bluffs through. And I would actually say that the way he views his image is probably why he ended up making the light call versus Illini. Just because he thinks he looks so light there, and that he has such a bad image. And he thinks that he has enough showdown equity and enough of a bluff catcher that he should be making that call. But the reason why I thought it was bad was because I didn't think that Illini would check call a float out of position. It's just not something that he's likely to do. So I don't think that him bluff catching with worse than that was very good.
I wouldn't put anything past him, to be honest. He's a really creative player, and he's done some extremely unusual things against me specifically. He's a really, really, really difficult player to play against, and a really, really tough player to range. So,
yeah, he definitely can be. That's for sure.
But in terms of the boots image here, I think he's set himself up as in a spot where everyone's just gonna never think he's got anything. He just looks like he's full of shit 100% of the time. So he's going to tighten up now for sure. He's definitely not going to be looking to get it in his light. And he's in a spot too, ICM wise, where he's going to be put under a lot of pressure. So I don't think he's going to want to put himself in those situations. I'd expect him to tighten up a lot here, at least until Grip These Nuts either busts or doubles.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that.
And we're on break
someone
again,
had-
Marco.
Intervene.
Yeah, it's
Yes.
break again, Marco. It's
I'd
Marco's.
like to intervene.
Please interlude, Marco.
No,
Someone had asked a great question earlier,
please.
aimed at me. Someone had asked, do I think that Jason Somerville's coming out will help other gay players come out as well? And I've definitely noticed that it has helped some gay players that I know personally. There's actually a thread on 2+2 for GLBTQ players, and we've had a lot more interest in that thread since Jason has come out, and it's definitely put at least gay poker players in the spotlight a little bit more, and would make people a bit more comfortable with their sexuality. I mean, he's seen zero bad publicity, and I would say that's been nothing but helpful for him to come out, both personally and professionally. He's a very great guy. I know him fairly well, and hopefully we can have him hop on later tonight, but it seems to be pretty busy. But yeah.
No, I think that was very. That was amazing what Mr. Somerville did. I spent a lot of time this summer just shooting the shit with Jason about video games and stuff like that, and it was just it was a breath of fresh air when he did it, because I think it's something that needs to happen, and I think that it will. Let's put it this way. I mean, I'm going to be speaking frankly here. Look at women when they play poker, right? How hard it is for a woman to play poker. Okay, just imagine on the flip side. Do you know what I'm saying? So if we can open up that door, I think it would be a whole new amount. Let's just call them fish. It'd be just more fish that are new to poker and want to have fun, right? I think poker's good.
Yeah, definitely.
The more people that are playing it, the more people that they can feel can walk into a poker room and play. It's too bad online poker's gone in the United States, because I think that was really a way for people that were scared to play live poker were able to get their feet wet. You know what I'm saying? So I think it's good. I love it.
In terms of that, I mean, me and Ryan are probably the polar opposites of people. I'm your typical loudmouth male who, beats his chest, drags his woman around by the hair, sort of the caveman style. And Ryan's your modern day, queer eye for the straight guy sort of guy. But yet, me and Ryan can sit down and have conversations about anything. I mean, one of the first conversations I had with Ryan when I first got to know him was about his sexuality and all that sort of stuff. And I mean, things like sexuality, depression, all those sort of stuff is coming out a lot more these days. And I just don't really see it as an issue. I don't think it's the same sort of thing. When someone came out 10 years ago, it was a big thing. I think these days we're that used to people being of different sexualities and different choices in life that we're just open about it. I mean, me and Ryan had a prop bet. When was that? May? I told him if he cleared his makeup. When was that? Oh.
It was in April of this year. I was I think at that point I was like $50K in makeup or so. And the prop bet was that it was my last month in Toronto, and if I cleared makeup before I left Toronto, that he would be willing to make a donation to a youth GLBTQ society that helps with suicide prevention and stopping bullying and those kinds of things. And I managed to do it over a 2.5-3 week period on a 30 average buy-in, clearing something like $50,000 to $60,000.
Wow. Which obviously was just me shooting my mouth off saying, okay, listen, if you're going to go clear your makeup, I'll donate a fair bit of money to this charity, because I work with youth charities. Ryan works with the youth. What's the actual name of it, Ryan?
The Trevor Project. They're the largest. Yep, they're one of the most well-known ones in the United States. You guys have probably heard of the It Gets Better Project. That's what they're most well-known for. Huh. And actually, if you guys are interested in, Jason's actually would be happy to hop on right now.
Oh, really?
I can add him to the conversation. Yeah.
Amazing.
That'd be great, sure. And Bogan, so did Bogan actually end up making the donation?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, that's wonderful.
I ended up having to donate $500, but the flip side of it is that I now get emails from this charity constantly. And my father is a very typical Australian male, and he sees my emails, and there's an email for gay support or, support, and he looks at my emails and he's like, son, we need to talk, son. Is there a conversation we have to have? And I explained to him, no, I offered to donate to a friend, if he cleared his makeup, all this sort of stuff. And he just looked at me, and ever since he's looked at me, he's sort of like, I'm just not sure anymore. But yeah, I ended up making a donation.
Dean.
I mean, it's a great charity. And
you're a man of your word, Dean. Good for you. And I don't know, Jason was in this call for a second, but then he dropped out. I don't know if anybody else saw that.
Yeah, he said that he's still in a Magic Gathering tournament online, and said that he said still in this thing, yeah, but shoot. And I assumed he meant add him to the conversation. We'll see.
Here we got an all-in right now, guys.
All in, yeah. Nuts, doubles up.
Yep. Only an 8 would have taken that down for him, or busting him out. So there you go. Grips at 1.1 million. Interesting.
Again, another standard cooler and all in.
Yeah, good read.
Bogan had mentioned.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
All I was going to say was good read on you guys saying that Grip was going to start playing tight in the first hand. We see him show downs Ace King. Well done.
Well, that's not playing loose though, is it? If you show down Ace 4, that might be a different style, but if you're going to come back and try and troll me and try to troll line, we are professional trolls.
Well, I'll tell you what,
you can't
though,
come
Dean,
back
I am
and say
gonna...
that shoving Ace King is loose.
I'm going to tell you one thing.
If you think shoving
Dean.
a 4.2% odd range is loose, well...
I don't even understand what you're talking about,
maybe
Dean.
QuadJacks find new owners.
Yeah, I agree. They're fucking idiots. But no, Dean, but you're a man of your word, Dean. And listen, I have to call you on something. I'm going to troll you a little bit here, Dean. You said you were free for 20 to 30 minutes. You've now been on the call for about an hour and a half. It's apparent that you have really no life or no agenda, sir.
I was pretty true. Since I've given up staking, those hours between like 9 to 5, I have no idea what to do with myself. I mostly spend on RedTube or on Skype trolling people, to be honest.
Yep.
Why doesn't that surprise me?
And here we got Grip starting to play a little bit more.
I'd actually say that Grip here is going to be mostly doing this for value. I mean, he could be bluffing as well, but I still think that the boot has a pretty active image, and Grip would be expecting him to 4-bet light a pretty high percentage of the time. But, yeah. As we can see there. There we go. And very sick up.
Oh, the boot. Bye.
Is that just a breakdown? What's going on with that, guys?
With what? His
6-8, yeah.
It's just a spot where Grip has to expect him to be opening really light, a really significant percentage of the time. I mean, it is a blind war, so he does only have to get through one player.
Right.
It's basically the boot.
And Grip doesn't really have a stack where he's going to be peeling with a super wide range there. So he can balance his 3-bet range pretty easily there.
Okay.
He knows that he looks really strong when he 3-bets there. So.
Right. So now Grip's right back in the mix.
Yeah. Although, like, I do agree with Madison there, but I think for the most part that Grip will expect the boot to just rip it in a really high percent of the time, and I think that'll a lot of Grip's like weaker value range or any type of thing that he might decide to 3-bet bluff with, he's probably just gonna to call in position a decent percent. Like, yeah, they were a little bit short effective, but he's still deep enough to at least peel flops, get a lot of equity, and put boot in difficult post-flop spots in position. When he's 3-betting there, he's just like completely polarized, and I think because he knows that the boot's very aware of that, and that the boot has been by far the most active 3-better, 4-better, and 5-better at the table, that I don't think Nick is ever like there. Like, if I'm Nick, when I'm 3-betting there, I'm always calling a shove and I'm fist pumping it all day. Like,
okay.
I would 3-bet call 7s there all day and not even think about it.
I think they have to change his name though.
Huh? Whose name?
I don't think he can be the boot anymore. I think he's been knocked down. I don't think we have to call him either the sandal or the slipper. He can't be called the boot anymore.
I like the slipper.
Touche there, good sir. The slipper. Well, he's now the slipper. He's now the slipper.
I knew we had Dean on for a reason.
And
Dean's got like a 30% success rate tonight, I've got to say.
Yeah, and I was trying to get him off the call by mentioning that he was on for too long, but that didn't work.
By reminding him that he's overdue.
And the guy even laughs at his own jokes. Yeah, I like you, Dean.
Bogan, you're having such a good time.
He laughs at the jokes he makes. He laughs at the jokes we make about him. It's nice. So, anyways, back to the action.
I do actually think that the 4-bet shove by the slipper was a little bit of a blow up. I mean, he can't really expect Grip These Nuts to be 3-bet folding all that often.
And that's what I asked you guys, Ryan. That's why I said, was that kind of like just him blowing up, or like just what he was doing with that 6-8? So, that's what my read was.
he probably did it because he was suited and was just like, well, at least if I'm doing it suited, I have enough equity and I'm not doing it too high of a percentage of the time.
Okay.
And like a lot of grip these nuts, like 3-bet call range ends up being big aces anyways.
Okay.
So, like, yeah, it's going to be bad, but, you know, he might have thought that the amount that he'd tightened down lately, that, you know, that he has a much better image to do something like that.
We've got
But
Cuckoo's been.
I don't think he's realized how tight Nick has been playing at this final table. Grip these nuts. Like,
Okay.
he's been playing pretty tight in general, and that was one of his, like, maybe only his second or third 3-bet. So I would say that it would be a blow-up, but
Okay.
I don't blame him for doing it.
We've got the feedback again, Ryan. Let's jump off and come right back on if you can. It's probably just.
One second, though.
Yeah. No, what did you think about that? Who's Marco? Was that you laughing in the background? Somebody's laughing. Maybe it's Dean. Madison,
My money's on Dean. My money is
Madison.
definitely on Dean. Anytime there's laughter in the background, my money's on Dean.
Okay, fair
I'm
enough.
becoming
wait.
overly sensitive.
Here we go, guys.
Oh,
Nolan and a call.
oh.
And good game to the slipper.
And then look at Cuckoo, guys. Cuckoo's snuck into 4th place. And I'll let
that's
you,
pretty
Ryan.
much been his goal now.
Ryan,
Yeah,
I'll let you
which
call the
seemed to be their
guy.
goal.
You've been calling the guys out as they busted, so I'll let you handle that.
Hasu, or however you pronounce his name, Ausel. Anyone know German? Anyways, he takes 5th place for $70,000, and I'm sure he's going to be a little bit frustrated and thinking about that 8-6 of spades hand for a very long time.
Definitely. It'd be cool if we could have him on right now and kind of ask him what the hell the thought process was during that hand.
I would love to interview him. I think we should get QuadJacks post-bust interviews by Bogan. Like,
Just to make players feel worse about themselves.
Yeah.
You've just busted a huge tournament, and I'll be, you know. So, how does it feel to punch your future? Now, you could have bought a house today, but instead you got $70,000. How does that feel? That's only 1/3 of a house, 1/4 of a house. How do you feel today? And then just see the reactions. I think it would be perfect radio.
And I think people could bet on the amount of times that someone decides to try to hit you.
That's
Forget
what.
about punching the future. They're just gonna punch Bogan.
Speaking of hitting people, I remember
Somehow
when
I think after the first day, people would decline the interview.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
I think after the first minute, they just hang up, and it'd be the one and only show. Kind of like your interviews you're going to do at Crown for us this summer or this winter. No, speaking of
Tapping on the
punching.
windscreen.
Speaking of punching people, Marco, I'm sure you remember this one. We had Big Dog Pocket Fives, Casey Jarzabek, on with Jared Tendler on the Mental Game Show, and I said to Casey, I said, hey man, you know, we've talked enough now where I can kind of tell you have a temper issue. And he's like, how the fuck did you know? No, he didn't say that, but and I said to him, I said, Casey, you know, would you be interested in coming on the Mental Game Show and talking to Jared Tendler? And he's like, is that fucking mental guy? And I'm like, yeah, man. He goes, listen, I can't talk to shrinks because I usually end up punching him out. So if he's in a different room than I am, then I can definitely talk to him. And that was one hell of an interview. Here, we got an all-in, Marco, from Cuckoo.
The near 20 big blind open shove. I really wouldn't expect to see any of the regulars, I would say, do something like this. I mean,
Ryan, I see you do this every day.
What, the open rip
I
20
see you
big?
do the open jam with 20 bigs all day.
Well, I do it in spots where...
Don't be saying it's bad when you do it yourself. Don't be coming...
Well, I don't think in general that it's bad. I just think...
Bogan, let him talk! Bogan!
Hey now, Bogan. I think in general that you're just going to see people tend to raise fold or raise call, especially in a slower speed tournament. You know, in something like a turbo, I think, you know, doing the open shoves on players who you expect to 3-bet shove on you a lot, you know, it's just going to be a lot better to do with hands that are near the mid of your value range. Like, I'd rather raise fold hands that are at the bottom of my range.
Yeah, I mean, Dean's trying to talk on top. Oh, he's talking.
No, because he's not letting, he's just yabbering on, but he's not letting me share the only information I have, which is 20 big blind poker. He's obviously going to open jam 2s to 7s there. Maybe might induce with 7s, but that's a bit light. he's going to open jam his suited connectors. You're doing it all day, but then you've gone and said it's bad to do. Like, he's not going to open into someone like Illinois who's going to rejam on him all day long.
Dean,
I didn't
All
say it was
day.
bad. Dean, I didn't say it was bad to do. I said that you wouldn't see the regulars do it very often
And listen,
in this tournament.
I'm having
this
deja vu
specific-
here, guys. I'm going to have to call an end to this, Dean. We had this 20 big blind chat with Chew for like an hour. I'm not going to listen to you talk about 20 big blind poker, okay? There's only one stack at the table that has 20 bigs.
That's the only poker there is. That's the only poker there is, though.
For you,
Let's be fair.
For less skilled players, maybe, or turbo guys. Although I'm mostly turbo guy myself, so yeah.
Grip doing a standard open here.
Three bets by Simsucks, sizing, like, one of the other things is you're going to notice about their 3-bet sizing, something to pay attention to, is that when they're in position, like when the min raises to 80, they'll be 3-betting to like 160, even like say as low as 140, and as high as say 170. But when they're out of position, they're generally going to be making it anywhere between 190 and up to 200.
Bam! All in!
Standard.
Whoa! Sevens all in versus Ace Queen. Sevens gets there.
And sevens just want a massive flip. And Cuckoo works their way up to third.
Wow.
Yeah, so Grippo.
Grip these nuts. That's Nick Grippo, right?
Yep.
Yeah, Nick Grippo out in 4th place for $96,696.
And the monkeys in the crowd go wild.
Yeah, definitely. You'll start to hear them shortly, Dean.
I'm sure a lot of people would say that hand was a little bit crazy, but I mean, considering the way that these dynamics are going, and while Nick Grippo had been playing fairly tight overall, once he gets this kind of stack and this kind of situation, everyone's aware that they're all going to be playing very aggressive.
Mm-hmm.
And I would say that the hand played out in a very, very standard manner.
Just I got a note here from
I
our
mean,
chat.
they're basically playing three-handed here.
Yeah,
Sorry.
yeah, they're basically playing three-handed.
Yeah, with just
Cuckoo
dead-
Chanel hasn't done anything, so...
Yeah, and this is kind of what I was going to bring up. It was from Bluff D Nuts, Vern in our chat. He says that Cuckoo, he just got word, is Alan Kessler.
Oh, really?
Oh, really?
That does not surprise me at all.
No, I think it's a level, guys, but good one.
Yeah.
Does
gonna
Illinois
say.
open jam out here, or would you still expect the same, just minimize it because of how tight Cuckoo's been?
Well, he's never going to
I
call
would
off.
be
if you-
shoving a range there for sure that is unexploitable. I mean, I might shove a hand like deuces just because I wouldn't want to raise call them.
Right, yeah. That's what I was going to say, is that you're still going to want to shove your weaker value hands, so hands that are like mid to bottom of your shoving range, but it's just going to be a lot better to just raise fold pretty much everything and then raise call the top of your range.
Yeah, I'd raise call really, really strong hands there, like aces, 3-jacks, or whatever it may be. But if I had a hand like deuces that doesn't really run too well against his 3-bet shoving range, I would just shove
There we
and
go.
Yeah,
move
hand
away.
like
Versus
ace-4.
All in.
Doesn't look good for
And good
Cuckoo.
game
Yeah, good
to
game.
Cuckoo.
Good job,
Heads
though,
up.
Cuckoo.
You got heads up.
And that was a very quick 4th third. Cuckoo getting 134,000 and some change
And here
for
comes
3rd
the
place.
and here comes the number talk, guys.
Here comes the top.
Yep, I thought this was going to happen.
These guys are really, really deep here, too. I'd imagine neither of them are super super avid heads-up players, and probably, I mean, they probably have a lot of experience playing with deep stacks, but probably not for this kind of money. Being over 100 big blinds deep, it makes a lot more sense for primarily 9-handed players to just chop it up and play for the rest.
And we've got host
And-
Joshua C in the house. He says,
Menmo is offline.
yeah, Mehmet Mori has been experiencing some Dean Bogan difficulties, and he'll be back online shortly.
Funny. Now, this is actually pretty interesting because it's Moment's birthday today.
Scary that you know that.
Bit of fun fact there. Well, I have him on Facebook, obviously. You know, me and him are like that. But it's his Facebook day. It's his birthday today. So for his birthday present from Pokerstars was to come host an event.
Yeah, they got good bosses down there.
I mean, I mean, honestly.
The technical difficulty he's probably experienced is that he's too drunk to type.
A good one.
It's somewhat surprising that SimSucks would deny the deal, being the dog. Like, you'd think that he would at least want to look at the numbers and try to get more than what ICM is. Because heads up, chip chop is ICM, and that's generally what players do. And if he's more, him just even saying that he's more interested in playing, he can probably try to convince a better deal out of Illinois.
Yeah, that's a good move, isn't it? To do exactly what he's doing right now.
Right. Yeah, if he does want a deal to go through, this is definitely a great way to do it. And I would also really expect them to do a deal most of the time.
Ryan, look what's going on right now.
He's playing a bluff.
Yeah,
he's playing a bluff.
This
That's
is
all
smart,
it is.
right? So he talks about a deal before the hand starts, and then and now in the middle of the hand on the flop for a $230,000 pot, he's like, yeah, okay, I'll take a look.
Yeah, I mean, as I was explaining when I was on the other night, the best way to do chops is to sit back and wait. Let everyone else never make the first move in a deal. Because you're always desperate, and you lose the upper hand.
Right, and you should also always deny whatever the first deal is, even if you really enjoy it.
Really?
Just because you can almost always get a better deal. You can always talk up money.
Now, I have a question. I don't know, Ryan, I don't know what's the relationship here, but just for Dean, sort of, now that we're on a break, I kind of just getting into the deal making. As a backer, Dean, do you let your horses make their own deals, or are you there sort of as their boss? I actually couldn't even see you being serious for more than a minute in a deal, but can you be serious, Dean, and help them broker a deal, or do you let them just handle that themselves?
Well, I mean, when it comes... me on air and me when it comes to my business is obviously two different people.
Can we have business, Dean, for a night?
Okay, let's have business, Dean, for a little bit here. When it comes to a deal, you cannot push it on a player on what to do. It has to be up to them to decide. Because at the end of the day, it's their account, and you're just a person financing them. What you do is you give them a little push in the...
See, as soon as I asked Dean for his business,
so, if they're doing a chop 4 or 5 handed... These are funny. But basically, you cannot take control as a backer. And the backers that do take control, as soon as your backer tries to take control of a deal, change backers, because it's obviously they don't have faith in you as a player. All you can do is show faith in people and tell them and explain to them the best way to go about a deal. And as a part of the Team Bogan coaching, we coach people how to make deals for these sort of situations.
Very glad you said we, Dean.
About it.
That's a good disclaimer to say we coach people, because I'm not really sure how well you'd be doing in that department. Ryan, what do you make of what he just said? I don't know if you've ever been back before, but do you agree with what he said if your backer's telling you to make deals and stuff? Yeah,
definitely. I mean, I've been backed my entire career. Of my 25,000 plus games played lifetime, I've been backed for 24,500 of them, and wouldn't be a professional without backing. And I've been with 2 backers, and none of them have ever put on any kind of pressure as far as pushing along a deal. And as Bogan had brought up, if a backer had been trying to, say, strongly push me to take a deal that wasn't necessarily in my best interest, then I would, or something that at least I didn't strongly agree with, then I would definitely feel as though that he didn't have faith in me as a player. And even there are other things that backers do or don't do that can, make a player feel as though that they're welcomed and, actually, the backer wants them around more than just to make money off of them. Trusting them with funds, allowing them to game select their own games. Like my new backer lets me pick whatever I play in, and that's one of the, nicest things I've had as a in a backing agreement is actually just having someone respect my game and my game selection enough to say, yeah, play whatever you feel like, I trust you.
No,
and
to be fair,
as a backer,
in that situation there, Ryan, no, but to be fair there, you are not the norm. you're not
Well,
the average poker player.
Yeah,
that gets
definitely.
backed.
I was just going to say that as a backer, it's very difficult to have that kind of trust in the horse as well. Too many backers get screwed on a constant basis. I mean, go look through the marketplace and you can see all the threads. Go to NVG and you can see all the threads. Go to MTT
That's 'cause
community
they're
and you can
absolute
see all the
dogs,
threads.
So
Yeah.
now, a
That's
question,
just idiots.
Ryan.
Yeah.
For somebody that is, for somebody that's backing you, post Black Friday, are you in a deal? And you don't have to talk about this if you don't want to. I'm just asking. Is this also, when you say you can play anything you want, is that live events as well, or is this just strictly an online backing deal?
Strictly for dailies online.
Okay.
Anything over $1,000, I have to have at least his general. Yeah, you can play that, or yeah, you can't.
Okay.
And happen to be fairly lucky that I have a backer that strongly encourages me to play games that he thinks I'm good in.
Great.
And I'm actually the kind of person that wants to sell action for certain things.
Okay.
So it's a much better agreement. And I would say for the most part that Bogan is right, and that a lot of people not only let their egos affect their play, but also what games they want to play.
Right.
Like some friends of mine, like just because they're allowed to play, say, the daily 109R, doesn't mean you should. Like, I'm allowed to play the daily 109R, and I never, ever, ever would outside of, say, the Sunday one.
It seems like the
It's
toughest
like-
tournament, yeah.
Right, it's the toughest tournament on the planet. I mean, the daily 109R is a lot harder than the Super Tuesday, or a lot harder than this, and the daily 109R is harder than what the WCOOP main event's going to be. It's a field of 300 to 400 players, and it's just
Don't be
it's
telling people
ridiculous.
this. Why are you telling people this?
Well, hold on, Dean. But a big question.
No,
Another
the
question.
100R is the softest tournament. Say it.
I mean, if you're playing that, you should honestly feel you're one of the top 50 players in the world. If you don't,
Get
then
out
you
of
shouldn't
it.
be playing that tournament.
And I mean,
Yeah, I mean,
is this a question? I mean, I'm not sure if these guys are still in the game. They have to be. But backs and sheets, are they still in the game? Because you never really hear much from them. And
they are still in the game.
Okay.
I know
They
a
did
decent
suffer a lot during Black Friday, though.
Yeah, Black Friday hurt them a lot. They are each backing people.
Okay.
In fact, one of their horses just recently final tabled the Big Sunday 109 rebuy. They are doing fairly well for themselves, but they were really, really hurt by Black Friday. Mormon has been hurt a lot recently. There are some really big staking teams out there that do very, very well, though.
What about
let's
I don't
be
know
fair,
if do you guys remember? Sorry, Dean. Do you guys remember from last year at the World Series of Poker, Max Katz?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He actually.
He's in politics now.
Yeah, I know.
Because
Yeah.
remember, Max Kratz, he's not a stacker. He's a share buyer. This is a completely different.
Okay.
industry.
Yeah, that's very well said, Dean.
You're talking about two completely different industries.
And I'm talking to two completely different deans, by the way. You've got your fucking thinking cap on, sir. My God.
Yes,
And I
because
agree with Dean
I shouldn't be
completely.
saying this. Why am I talking about staking? That's like the nut though for me. to
Dean,
do.
let's go. Talk.
Okay.
Yeah,
straight
probably
out.
is.
Straight out. When it comes to staking, there is 2 to maybe 5 people who know what they're doing. That is it.
Are you one of them?
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yes, I am. I think Ryan would agree that I'm one of them.
So you can.
Yeah.
Dean can play in the
Sadly
109.
enough, I have to agree with Dean on something.
Dean can play in the 109 backers tournament. He's one of the top 5. That's good.
I would be the Mormon of fame. Well, Mormon's a backer as well, so probably a bad thing. But I mean,
I would definitely. You don't want to be the Mormon of backing.
Mormon would not be the Mormon of backing.
No.
Okay, like he is not. I don't want to come out be controversial or confrontational.
No, Dean.
He's not.
Dean, you're never controversial.
That's not my style at all.
You're never controversial, Dean. No, not at all. Politically correct, Dean.
There's
Go
only a
ahead.
couple
Go ahead,
people who
Dean.
know- There's only a couple of people who know how to stake, and there is that many people out there in the industry that have no idea what they're doing at all. And that's where my internet drops, I think.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that.
Yeah.
And what he was saying earlier about buying pieces and stuff, they're completely different beasts. I mean, you can be a very good piece buyer and be a terrible staker, be a great staker and be a terrible piece buyer.
I'm a very bad piece buyer. I know that's for sure. Because I just, I buy off friends and that's it. I don't sit down and look for, value. But when it comes to staking, the people you want to stake you are not poker players. You don't sit there and go to the best poker player and ask him to stake you. You know, personally, I believe the two best in the game are myself and Zimmer, and neither of us are poker players.
Zimmer is definitely the best in the game.
Could you tell us a bit more about Zimmer?
He runs right now by far the largest stable. I'm sure Zimmer and his partner Smock Rock Flock, between the two of them, they probably put the most people in the WCOOPs. I'm sure for next WSOP they'll put the most people in the WSOPs of any staking group. They're essentially the new backs and sheets. In fact, Zimmer lives here in Cabo with me. He's a very great guy, and he's very, 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 very skilled backer, and has a very large stable now.
Zimmer's probably the person I respect most in the staking world. He's built from 2 180s to his whole way up. They've got a huge amount of mid stakes to high stakes horses, and I think he understands that you've got to spread your variance out. So while these big backers will go out and they'll put money into 2 or 3 high stakes guys, and that's it, he'll have a stable of 70, 80 guys. You know, myself, I think I had about 70 guys. You know, you've got to spread your variance when you're backing. You've got to look at what will make the most money for you. So it's sort of like, I don't know if you've seen the movie Moneyball or read the book. Sort of where it's not about the best players in the world playing for you, but it's about the people who are going to make you the most for that return on investment. So if one guy you can invest $5,000 into for his swings, and he's going to make you $60,000 over the course of the year, then that's better than putting $50,000 into a guy that's going to make you 110, because your return on investment is greater. It just means that more workload is going to be needed, and obviously you're going to have to keep track of a whole lot more range of issues. But that's where your money comes from diversifying your money and looking at what's going to make you the highest ROI. Same as a player, same as when you're playing the game, you've got to work out what's going to make you the most money, and that's about as much as I'll go, as much detail as I'll go.
Very well put, Bogan. No, that's great. I didn't feel like interrupting you at any point of that. Not that I usually feel like interrupting you, but it seems like every time you and I seem to start speaking at the same times. Every time I'm about to speak, I hear your voice, Dean. And when you start to speak, maybe you hear mine. But
it looks like a deal's been made here, guys. So we're gonna be poker again.
A small deal was made where they essentially
had to finish talking. They had to finish listening to Bogan, I guess.
Where they set aside about $17,000 each. So instead of second being 177, second's now 194.
And Illinois gave up a little bit there as well, guys. I
definitely think that and that was also to be expected, as you can see with Simsuck saying, "Oh, hey, I don't want to make this deal. Oh, let's just play for it. Oh, let's just set aside some. Oh, like he definitely owned that deal, even though it wasn't to a big degree. It was definitely to the type of degree that you would expect between two good regs. You aren't going to see that big of a someone getting, say, highway robbed at this kind of heads up, but that would essentially be the equivalent of it, I would say.
I would agree.
Bellini's being kind of cool. He's saying GG and good luck, man. Is that common amongst beasts like him, heads up? Well,
they're both from Costa Rica, and I think they might be in the same city. If not, they probably know each other well enough either way. I mean, it's, a lot of the high-stakes guys, especially because of something like WSOP, of moving around a lot. Black Friday really made a lot of online guys be forced to know each other in person a lot better, and be forced to kind of be, almost nicer to each other and stuff, build better relationships and those kinds of things. So it's pretty rare to see people really, be mean to each other at the tables, unless it's something like, say, trolling someone on the table in frustration after taking a beat, or just, having a trolling war with someone for whatever reason.
Wow. Well, I'm startled by the politeness. I mean, not only they both tell each other good luck, but one of them also said thank you. I'm expecting to hear you're welcome any minute. and
we have a pretty interesting hand brewing right away too.
Yeah. What's
always
going on,
called
Ryan?
a raise pre-flop from Illini from Lion with Simsuck's calling, and then flop went Illini c-bet, and then Simsuck's raised. And this type of board, like, it's going to be pretty easy for, well, it's really easy for Simsucks to have destroyed this board with hands like 6-7, 5-6, 8-6, even 4-6, 6-9. Mostly suited connectors for the suited gappers for the 6-9 and 4-6. And it's hard to say whether or not he's going to be bluffing here a lot or going for value here a lot. And Illini, the way this is playing out, he could be nutted, but I don't think that's very likely. He probably either has a bear 8, a bluff catcher of some kind, or even hands like 5-6, 7-6, or 8-6 himself. And he could even have overpairs, because an overpair right now is nothing more than a bluff catcher. And there honestly isn't that much difference right now, say, between Ace-6 and 7-6. They're all around the same. And we should expect to see Illini check behind here most of the time. Or he has something like 6-9, 4-6, a set, and thinks he's always good here. And he could actually be going for thin value as well, because Simsuck checking the river pretty much caps his range. And Simsuck going from, say, having a lot of 2-pair sets and so on and so forth, yeah, like, Simsuck never has 2-pair or anything like that ever there. I'm actually pretty surprised that Simsuck's raised flop there with that kind of hand. Just because it has so much showdown value, and it's just such a good bluff catcher that he's rarely going to be getting value from worse there. You know, there are very few 7 combos and 5 combos that will bet call flop, call turn, and get to the river. And you're, like, almost never pushing off of an 8. Like, you're essentially hoping that your 10 hits, your 7 hits, or that there's a really good bluff card on the river, like a 4, a 9, or a 6, and hoping that they can fold an 8. And you'd also think that Illini might, say, want to 3-bet the flop a lot as well, just because Simsuck kind of looks pretty full of it. So maybe he was trying to go for really thin value, but I'd rather just call flop, call turn, and just get to the river as cheaply as possible, and then wait until you have a proper kind of dynamic, and then set up very thin value hands and those kinds of things. You know, poker being a game of information, and you know, you want to try to build dynamics where you have a lot of good information, and then also try to build a dynamic in the right kind of situation where you also tend to be in position, because position adds to your information as well.
Amazing. I don't know what to say. But let's hear it for Ryan. You know, everyone. Bogan,
yeah, I'm sure I put most people to sleep.
No, absolutely not. Bogan, I'm gonna bump you.
Now we have another interesting hand brewing here. With the raise.
Do you coach, Ryan? You sound like you coach.
Yeah, I do a fair bit of coaching.
How much do you charge? How can people contact you for coaching?
I currently charge $100 an hour. You can hit me up on Skype, same as my Pokerstars name. Potential MN, same as my Twitter name. I won't be adding any students until October due to WCOOP and some prop bets and stuff. And I'll also be joining floattheturn.com, and we'll be doing coaching with them. So if you like my flow and everything, I'll be doing lots of videos through them eventually. And they're very cheap to join. They're myself and a bunch of coaches that I've handpicked personally will be building material as well. So it should be a great range of material. Yep. Look for potential. Yep. On Float the Turn. My first video will be coming out in early October, and I will start writing articles and doing things like that.
Darling, your first video came out a couple of days ago on QuadJacks TV.
Well,
so
yeah,
how come you
first,
him Darwin? If I called him Darwin, it would be a gay joke.
Bogan, stop. I call everyone darling. If you listen to this program, you'd know that.
You called me his asshole.
I've called you darling. I was going to call you darling in that tweet earlier. I thought about calling you darling, and then I think I called you like bro or something. Bogan, please, okay? Bogan, I like you, and I'm sorry you're lonely. I don't know what it is about you retiring, because like you did say at the beginning, you said, "Oh yeah, I only got about 20 or 30 minutes," and it has been about 2 hours, and I'm fine with that, Bogan. I think you need this program more than this program needs you. Okay, I think
the only reason why people are listening are to hear my voice. You got to understand, I'm kind of a big deal in the community, and probably more well known than your good self. So so you've got to understand that having someone as important as I on your station basically verifies you as sort of almost poker radio. You're almost there. I mean, working like you can get there one day, but
yeah, I don't know why you and Chu don't get along, honestly, Bogan, because you are exactly alike. I hear you, I hear Chu. I am so this, I am so that, etc., etc. Maybe that's why you don't get along. You're always in competition to be the prettiest girl.
That's just insulting. I'm a man, sir. You shouldn't insult people like that. I find that very offensive.
Bogan, I wish you'd recommend this program to your mates in the community, just because I would appreciate the feedback. If you thought that it was worth their time, which you stated earlier you did not think it was. But
well, I've been advertising. I mean, the MTTC,
you've been here for 2.5 hours.
How's it going up more? Like every single time, it's been 1 hour, 21 minutes, and 31 seconds that I've been on the call. Okay.
All right. Well, we've been here for 2.5 hours, but you've been here for about an hour and a half.
Yes, I know. I was meant to mow the lawn, do the dishes, but
soon you're going to have to retire from QuadJacks TV.
Pretty soon I'm going to have to buy QuadJacks.
Hey, listen.
Wow, I've just got a message from Zimmer saying that he's listening in, so you probably got the most important backer in the game now listening to QuadJacks thanks to me, so...
Well, how long has he been listening? Was he listening when you guys were singing his praises? Ask him that. No,
probably not. I mean, we'll see, now he's typing now, he's laughing. So Zimmer is very short on words, he only normally says dull. And he's watching. Now he wasn't listening when we were singing his praises.
Hate to break in here, but it seems like we got an almost $2 million pot here.
Yeah, this is a massive, massive pot. It was 3-bet pre. Illinois raised button. Simsucks 3-bet and Illinois flat pretty quickly. And then Simsucks continuation bet this very, very dry board. And I think turn went Simsucks checking with Illinois betting turn. And now this river bet, and it's pretty hard to say what Illinois has here. He's very capable of floating flop and betting turn and bluffing river. He's very capable of having all kinds of pairs that can have thin values, so 9s, 10s, jacks, queens, all kings. It's hard to say whether or not this could definitely be either way. And Simsucks looks like he has some kind of bluff catcher here. So maybe he has jacks or something, or ace-8 or something weird like that.
Marco, I'm pretty sure that the reason why Zimmer is listening to QuadJacks is because his former horse is heads up.
I assume Illinois, the lion.
Yep, he's a former horse of Zimmer, so it must be pretty hard for Zimmer right now watching this. Because, it would have been an extra $120,000 or so, or is it $105,000 to his pockets?
But I think you're giving Zim a little bit too little of credit as far as just honestly wanting, say, an ex-horse of his to succeed and possibly a friend of his.
Trust me, Zimmer does not have any friends. All Zimmer wants is money. Now that I know that he's listening, I can't sing his praises anymore, but I mean, I sort of understood like I had a horse on a final table. I mean, it's not this sort of final table, but I can imagine, watching a former horse, and part of you does think, well, that money would be nice, but you do want your former guys to do well, and you do support and cheer them on, so I'm sure he's been watching and hoping for his former horse to do really well here. Excuse me as I burp.
You're fine, Dean.
He had two former horses on this final table. He's just making sure to point out that, how many people he does stake in this game.
Yeah, way too many of them. Well, probably not in his eyes, but it's a very, very large number.
Did he ever offer you a staking deal, Mr. Potential?
I actually tried to join with him. Back in April, my ex-backer was looking to drop me as I was getting pretty high variance with moving costs from Toronto back to the United States, wanting to do the World Series again this year, and he didn't want to deal with that amount of variance. Don't really blame him. And so I ended up, backer hunting for a while and was actually denied by Zima due to the amount of variance and due to not wanting to stay out of the United States. I wanted to go to the World Series, which ended up being a pretty good thing for me. And, he wasn't really interested in having a horse that was looking to play live for that long. So I ended up getting picked up by someone else instead, and am very grateful for that.
Excellent.
I don't think any of us listened to what the line just said, but Hill and I just put down another pot here for about 600k.
The last pot was pretty interesting. I don't know if you guys saw it, but SimSucks actually min-clicked it when he 3-bet pre-flop. He made it the absolute minimum, which is a bit of it's a bit of an interesting spot out of position, especially this deep. You can certainly afford to make it a bit bigger than that. So. Yeah,
I dislike doing that with everything. It could have been a misclick, but I don't see either of these guys misclicking one tabling heads up.
Yeah. It seemed intentional. It was kind of well thought out as well too. I mean, that doesn't always discount the misclick, but he certainly tanked a while before he did it. It wasn't instant or anything like that.
I really dislike it, unless for some reason you think, Illinois is going to like 2-lot versus it or whatever, but he really doesn't seem to be that kind of player. I think he's just like going to flat everything, and maybe 4-bet mostly value.
Yeah, I'm a pretty big advocate of the minimum raise, the clicking it pre-flop, so to speak. But I do it more in order to build a dynamic with someone. I usually click a lot to the guy on my right. If the guy's opening quite frequently, I'll just click it on him every time, to the point where he just decides to punt because he's getting sick of being clicked on. That was the first one we've seen, so that was a bit interesting.
Right, which, that's kind of, that's fine when you're going to be playing, most mid to high stakes tournaments, it was 9-handed or whatever. There are just a lot of spots where that's fine, just because you're going to be 30 to 40 big blinds effective, not, 50 to 100 big blinds effective, out of position, heads up in a spot where, Illinois is never folding. Illinois is either always calling or is 4-betting. There is no fold ever there.
I would agree with that. Yeah, it's a lot more valuable when you are doing it in position, because it's a lot easier to play your hands post flop, of course.
I have another fairly interesting hand brewing. I didn't really see the action again. I have to be better at commentating and actually watching the table.
Wow, great commentary there, Potential.
Yeah, I know, right? Thank you, Flip Repair. Appreciate it. That's
Zima would like you both, actually you all, to know that he thinks you're all doing a very good job. So shut up, Bogan.
Thank you, Zima. In fact, no.
He told me that he thought Marco was a wanker, but I'm only getting told what people. I'm only getting told what people tell me in private. What can I do?
Oh, Bogan.
I really
a douchebag, to be honest. But
I didn't really see the pre-flop or even the flop action, but I really like the large bet sizings on the river. I think it can put villains to a lot of really difficult spots, and anytime SimSucks has an ace here or a 10 here, he's almost always kind of forced to call, and yet it's going to be really difficult for him to anyways. And Illinois can be doing this as a bluff or for value, and it's just going to work a high percent of the time for both reasons. He just either A, looks so full of shit or looks so nutted, and just having that kind of dynamic, it can definitely be an interesting play to make. And even doing something like overbetting the river, you'll see a lot of the better cash game players in the world overbet rivers and spots, especially someone like Isildur.
Yeah, Eleni's pretty notorious for it too. He's definitely, I would say, a very frequent overbetter. He keeps his bets on the river often very close to pot to put people under pressure and to really kind of polarize his range.
Yeah, and it's definitely something that I need to get even more better at doing so myself. There have been a few spots recently where I've gotten it to work really well, but it's something that's very, very, very difficult to add into your arsenal and do so properly.
It's something that you gain a lot of experience doing when you're playing pretty deep, but
Yeah,
unfortunately, MTT players don't always have that luxury. The majority of the time, you're playing a 30 to 40 big blind stack, so you notice a lot of cash games, like Ryan was saying. A lot of cash game players like Isildur and Dur and so on have really kind of mastered the overbet, but a lot of MTT players still don't even touch it.
I think the difference is cash players actually know how to play poker. Like,
Yeah, I would agree with
let's
that.
be fair, most MTT players are just pushing buttons and.
Yeah, agreed.
If we're playing MTTs, it means we're not that good. And we're just chasing easier money, so...
Yep.
I think that's why we always see guys who, break even at 100 November can come over and play $215 tournaments and win online. Being able to play post-flop and all that sort of stuff. Oh, we've got a pretty interesting pot here, guys.
Yeah, very interesting one. This is the first 4-bet of the heads-up match, and...
Eleni's
really
basically trying to make SimSucks play for stacks here.
Yeah.
He's
Like-
not in a position to do anything else.
No. This would be a really sick hood flat, though. Like, you're repping aces exactly.
Yeah, but it's really difficult to play a pot out of position.
Yeah. Yeah. Looks
Oh,
like a
there it
cooler,
is.
yeah. And the suck out. Maybe the resuck? Yep,
Oh,
and the
good.
resuck, and that's game.
Eleni! Congratulations to Eleni, and congratulations to our panel. Good night, everyone.
Wow.
Play us out, Zach. No, I obviously don't mean to end the program that eagerly. Thanks,
Wow.
boys. Alright, so...
Don't say you wanted me off the air that quickly.
No, I wanted Bogan off the air that quickly, and you guys
Oh,
are just
of course.
casualties. So let's begin
Hey,
with
hey
Bogan.
Marco, we'll probably,
Yes.
we'll probably get you off the air before I get off the air, let's be fair.
Let's
I'm
be
pretty
fair.
sure I could be the end of your... I'm pretty sure I could be the end of your job on QuadJacks. Like, I
You
wouldn't be
could be the
surprised to
end
get... Of Marco. I'm pretty sure I could take over from you and do a better job.
You probably could. Do you want to?
No.
Alright.
I'm guessing it's not as high paid as backing is.
Okay. Bogan,
Yes, sir.
Can we talk about the tournament?
Yeah, sure. I didn't watch any of it, but I'm sure we can talk about
Demonstrate. Let's demonstrate your hosting abilities. Tell us what you thought, and then ask the other guests.
it. Well, I thought that was actually a pretty good tournament. It was great to see the Boot and the Lion have a bit of battles there. I thought it was actually a lot better commentary than obviously the one I was involved in. I feel sorry for Ashley for having to work with Potential, but it was great work by him.
Yeah, between you two, I can't really get much words in, but
Keep going, Dean. You're supposed to
In
be
regards
taking
to
Marco's
Dr.
job.
Marco, what? Oh, you want me to take Marco's job?
Yeah, keep
Oh,
going.
Potential. So what did... Welcome to QuadJacks. We're just going to see the guys out here. We've got Potential. Thanks for joining us today and having your second commentary on the QuadJacks final table. What do you think of today's final table?
Well, as we predicted earlier, and we thought that it'd be a pretty wild final table, and as we saw from start to finish, it ended up playing out like that with lots of 3-bet, 4-bet, and 5-bet wars. I mean, the types of players that were on here proved for a very fun and interesting final table, definitely. And I'm very, very happy to see Steve take this down. The times that I played with him seemed to be an amazing guy and a great player, and this was definitely well deserved by him. And I would say that he played the best at it. I mean, it's pretty hard to argue otherwise. He didn't really get out of line or anything like that. set players up for some pretty interesting spots. And as you can see with that final hand, they played right into his hands and ended up paying out very well for him. 225K and a bracelet. No, that's nothing.
I think I'm going to cut in there so you don't rant all day. What are you looking forward to for the rest of your WCOOP? You know, are you playing the main event? Are you playing the 10K on the final day? Where are we going to see Mr. Potential for the last couple of weeks of WCOOP?
Well, let's see here. There's around 2 weeks left, nearly. Not quite. 10 days left. I might take 1 day off, but I plan on playing around 20 more events. With all the 200s and stuff. I'll be playing the 2K this upcoming Sunday. 500 rebuy, some of the other ones. I won't really be playing any of the bigger mixed games, but I will be playing the main event, and am very, very excited for that. It'll be the most action I've ever had under myself as, someone backing me or anything like that. Generally had to sell a lot of action, so...
And I guess the most important question, the one that we all at home are waiting to hear.
Oh yeah, what's that?
What are your views on people who sit all day and complain about bad beats? Not only on Twitter, but also on Skype. And what do you think is the best way for someone to move on from sharing their bad beats with all of their friends and people they talk poker with?
Well, I think occasionally posting bad beats and things like that isn't necessarily a bad thing. Especially at, say, final tables or something like that. Doing it constantly is definitely bad for both yourself as a player and, people who speak with you. So probably not a good thing to do in general. Having a good mindset about things definitely helps out. And that was a nice little needle by you.
Trust me, I'm very good at them. And actually, I'd say you were screening, but I can't even say that I've remembered it. Thank you for joining us today. It was a great final table. What were your views on today's action?
It was really good. Anytime you get this high caliber quality of player on the finals, it always makes for a lot of interesting play and a lot of good action. So it's unfortunate we didn't see a lot of. There was a lot of really, really good players in the final 18. That it was pretty unfortunate not to see them make the final 9. Flush Entity, of course, is one of the bigger players in the game. Wizzo just won Partouche for $1 million, so it'd be nice to see him keep his run up. And Flash Disaster, of course, another really, really, really strong player. So yeah, really, really high quality level of play here. So always fun to watch.
And for yourself with WCOOP, how has your series been going so far? And what's the goals for the rest of the series? We're going to be seeing you in the main events, or whereabouts we're going to see you in the tables for the next couple of weeks?
I'm in discussions right now with a potential new backer. We're just kind of working out the logistics of a deal. So I'm not entirely sure yet if I will be playing the WCOOP main event. In regards to the smaller stuff, I'm playing all of those, but the 5K is still a big question mark right now.
Okay, and last of all, how does it feel to have been able to... I'm guessing this is your QuadJacks debut. How did it feel to be able to have a conversation with Bogan? I mean, I understand that when you have grandchildren, maybe still alive for your great-grandchildren, you will, speak about today. But, how are your views with being able to finally talk with one of the legends of poker?
It's been good. It's been difficult to get a word in. But it's been fun. I've tried to keep quiet to avoid some of the needles, but some of them I guess are pretty inevitable. I'm sure they're coming.
I'm sure we'll find a way. So for those of you at home, keep grinding and keep watching QuadJacks.tv. Play us out.
That's all you got, Dean?
That
was pretty good.
That's all I've got.
That was pretty good, Dean.
Yeah, not too shabby. He could probably do his own show, but I really don't think it can keep up with Marco and his amazing radio voice. Just saying.
Yeah, I mean, Dean's voice is definitely very different than Marco's. That's for sure. I'd like to hear Marco do a little.
Put Bogan's mind in my body. Put Bogan's mind in my voice.
Yeah, can you
put Bogan in my mouth?
Can you? Wow. Can you? Are you able to do a little Bogan impression for us, Marco, to play us out?
I'm so not good with these impressions.
That's bullshit, dude.
Oh.
That's bullshit. I won't even out you, but I know that you're not bad with impressions. You're good with them.
I wouldn't even know what to say.
Come on, Marco, let's hear it.
Wow. There you go, Dean. That's how Marco sees you, by the way.
See, here I was going to invite you guys over for a barbecue when you come down to, you know, the Aussie Millions, but Marco, I'm guessing you can stay in Sydney now.
Hey, listen, there's a good comment in chat by Flipper Fairy. He says, Bogan's voice is made for deaf people.
Sounds about right. I definitely agree with that.
Anyways, guys, I don't want
I'm gonna have to co-sign. Dude.
Yeah, I think that was a great way to comment. Bogan, good job. Thank you so much. Ryan, Ash, you guys have just been killing it, man. You guys did really good. And thank you so much for taking the time for our viewers tonight and walking them through a final table. It was really good.
Thank you very much for having me on again. I really appreciate it. I have a lot of fun doing these things and would love to be back on.
Awesome. Hopefully,
last one here. Had a lot of fun. Hopefully, we get to do it again in the future.
Exactly. Thank you, guys, and have a good rest of your night and gear up for tomorrow's events.
Yeah, what's coming up?
Dean?
Oh, no, I've been asleep for the last month. I have no idea.
There.
I'm paying no attention to WCOOP at all.
Tomorrow there really isn't that much. Just a 326 max. That's really early in the morning, and not that many people will play. I'm skipping it definitely. Then the 320 Parliament Omaha 6 max cubed. That would actually be a fun one to play, but it's going to be so difficult. So just skipping that, and then the 320 triple draw, another interesting tournament. But
fair enough. Okay. Well, listen, Marco. I don't want to keep our guests any longer. They've been here for quite some time.
No, we're not going to keep our guests any longer. Gentlemen, thank you all. I would like to remind our listeners that you can follow our guests on Twitter. You can follow Ryan LaPlante on Twitter at PotentialMN. Also, you can follow Madison. Madison, thanks so much. We really loved having you on here tonight for your QuadJacks TV debut. You did a wonderful job, and we hope to have you on again very soon.
Yeah, I appreciate the opportunity, guys. Thanks.
And please start tweeting more. You know, I'm telling people to follow you, so I would, you know, we should be working together here. You know, give them something to follow you for. You can follow Madison on @Mads is it? Yes, Madsberg. And of course, there's Bogan. Bogan, I have to say, you actually did a pretty good job. You know, leading us out. No, well, he does. You know.
Yeah.
At the end, yes. No, he sucked until that point. Bogan, you know, Bogan in poker, Bogan listen, I mean it, Bogan understands online poker issues and grinder issues much more than I do, so of course he's qualified to formulate some very good questions. And I invite Bogan to become, you know, if he wants to, if he wishes, a semi-regular here on QuadJacks TV, especially during WCOOP. Bring us his fun and informative perspective. And I could not have meant a single word of what I just said. But you can follow Bogan on Twitter at Team Bogan Online. Obviously, I put that in chat. So, thank you all, gentlemen, and thank you all for listening.